Ladies and gentlemen, fans and combatants, we are here, NEC 2023. This is Mortal Kombat 1. The top 8 is about to go off. My name is Darth Arma, joined by Mr. Colon, Kevin Colon. What's going on, man?
What's going on, man? A pleasure as always. I cannot wait for this incredible top 8 action. We're going to be starting off, if I'm not mistaken, with Aztec versus Cosner.
Oh, yeah.
That random reptile.
That random reptile. This random reptile made his way all the way to the top 8 on the winner's side, representing, of course, the Golden Coalition. Yes, big shout-outs to this guy and his team. That's right, that's right. Where's the team rep?
It's, you know, we got to rep NEC. We're here, you know.
I see the classic. That's
the classic. We have to swap them out. You know, we got a little bit of the new merch yesterday. Some of the old merch today. We're getting a little nostalgic.
I love it, man. A nice little mix of everything, kind of representing, kind of showing off, you know, how deep those FGC roots go. And both these players are, at this point, pretty much veterans here.
Yes.
This is not their first NRS game. Costner's debut, pretty much dating all the way back to the MK9 days.
Yes, talk about nostalgia.
Super nostalgic and just keeps going on with all these NRS titles. But honestly, like, I think Costner's found so much success in this one, and it's just applying pure fundamentals.
Yes, and a skill set that's very required to be a reptile main. You know, you've been
you stuck that one in there.
No, we've been going through Downplay City, but to the credit of both players, these are not character picks that are any surprise to anybody, right?
No.
Aztec, we're going through Bunch Check right now. Aztec has been a dedicated Raiden main and has been a big fan of the Raiden Sector shell, which provides a lot of interesting utility for Raiden, right? Nice back throw combos, good ability to pressure with zoning when you're forced to hold a Sector missile, etc.
It's very, when I was playing Aztec in casuals earlier, it's very oppressive. Like, normally when Raiden hits with the overhead, you're like, all right, well, big deal.
Yeah.
But then in this situation, he hits you with the overhead and then makes you hold the Sector missile. Good check by Aztec, and Cosner didn't fall for it. And I want to say that's a tell off the bat that Aztec knows what kind of player Cosner is.
Yeah, you have to be ready for him. There's a lot of reptile players that are a little more, I would describe Cosner this way, they're more preemptive than reactive, right?
Sure.
Cosner's got very solid, when you speak to those fundamentals, his defense it's very hard to find competitors that are par with him defensively. He's got a good ability at full screen to react to everything, and with a kit like Reptiles, it's very helpful. That is a bit of an overextension, though, trying to mix with the cancel into the slide.
Oh, boy.
Of course, distance management is going to be the name of the game here between the two.
And this is what I'm talking about. When you get that knockdown with Raiden, it's lockdown city. You got to hold this. And Cosner committing, or I thought he was going to commit to a lot, but instead ends it with a Kung Lao low hat. And this is really, you know, according to Cosner, the Kung Lao low hat is what makes this character for him.
Yes, it's we actually shared that sentiment about like 2 weeks into the game as Raiden main, where a lot of people were kind of on Sector for, sorry I said as Raiden main, as Reptile main specifically. Everybody thought it was Reptile Sector. And then we just noticed the utility of Lao was so much better, right? You can cover the flawless block gaps that seem to be present throughout the entirety of Reptile's offense. Of course, the same hearts of blockables that everybody gets access to with him, but it also covers Reptile's invincibility, the mind games you get off of it, immense. And then one of these situations here, yes, your ability to take full committal moves and potentially turn them into advantageous situations with a perfect call out. Not enough to get the job done there, but I do think it's important to implement for Cosner to Aztec. That is something he has to be worried about this early.
Yeah, that was so interesting there, that last play, or one of the last plays that last round. If Cosner committed to a jump and punch after the teleport, he could have possibly taken that entire round.
Yeah, it gets a little wonky. The jumping kick is more consistent. The jumping punch, depending on what you're ambushing away from, can tend to whiff. So normally you come out the ground, you try to ascertain how close they are to you, and if they're a little farther than that, you go for the kick.
Fun blockables. We all love to see it. And speaking of seeing things, I don't see Reptile on the screen right now. Seems pretty broke to me.
I mean, listen, it seems just as good as Smokes. I don't think there's any differences.
Oh, no difference. Same. No worries. Just kidding, guys. We all love to downplay. Love the connection there. Cosner getting a little crazy with that down two, putting himself completely susceptible to that missile, and thus into this combo. Big from Aztec. Checking up.
Yeah, we're going straight into restart match, and I understand it too. Layer 1 is off. Let's go.
Let's go, baby.
King Cosner.
Everybody excited for Cosner.
Round 1.
Giving a little shout out to MKNJ with a class. Speaking of the OG merge, that's a classic MKNJ shirt.
Yes, I've been seeing them around quite frequently.
Uh-oh. Check with that sector.
And I will say, I don't mind it being used at that distance. I have seen sector cameo mains that like to do it closer, where it is susceptible to getting them hit for upwards of 40% sometimes.
Yeah. So I get what you mean. Like, if you get hit by that distance, what's the big deal?
Yeah.
Like, I just got checked. So, you know, the bigger the risk, the bigger the reward.
Yeah. All right, going to continue to push the pace here. Aztec taking great advantage of the strike throw stagger game. And Cosner willing to turn a little bit. Obviously, Raiden, not one of those characters that has a hard time finding damage with good opportunities. Nice reactive slide.
So reactive, so on point here, but Cosner's going to need a lot more to make up this huge life deficit.
And I will say ducking those projectiles consistently too, which in a matchup like this is important, right? Every bit of chip that you don't have to take is helpful, especially when you're fighting a character whose passive is to negate most of it.
I love Aztec's like restrained to not really press anything. I feel like Reptile opens up people who want to sit there and mash down 4, mash down 1, and Aztec's just not one of those players, or he's just very familiar with this matchup.
Or sometimes just familiar with Cosner too. Like, notice he's also been a little more hesitant to zone at distance solely because Cosner's been reacting to all of them. So now you've got to be cautious.
That's true. That's true. Don't give Cosner that free damage. Over the other side, getting the best of that Kung Lao low hat, nowhere to be found.
And Aztec could if he wanted to, right? There's gaps between Reptile's back 3-1. There's at least 3 different opportunities throughout the string. Go ahead.
That was so weird because like he got hit by the hat and I was so sure it was going to combo.
Yeah. It can get finicky. In most situations, it works out in your favor. There's the ambush again.
And then there's that jump and punch from the Kung Lao teleport, like I mentioned before. Beautiful hit confirm here, coming from Aztec, pushing Cosner a little bit closer to the corner. Drops the end, and Cosner was so jittery that he jumped out of that situation. I mean, I don't like being shoved in the corner either, but my God, this is top 8.
I think he just saw it whip and thought he could get up and get an immediate punish opportunity and didn't consider the way that the hitbox for Raiden's down 4-2 would actually interact with it.
Do you think that was purpose bait by Aztec, or do you think he just dropped the combo?
It could be either or, right? The problem is when you get competitors this high level, it's hard to tell.
Some people have those bait setups, you know?
Yeah.
100%.
And it's worse because, you know, they compete so often, you'll see them in other tournaments and you'll ask them and they go, no, it was a drop, but when we're playing, it's real. It's the chip out sequence. That's going to be one of Raiden's strengths too, right? His ability to lock the opponent down. If you're anywhere under 10%, you've got to start getting very concerned about your defense.
Yeah, but let me tell you though, Kevin, that last part right there, Cosner didn't have a full bar, so the last breath mechanic never kicked in. So I think that was Cosner trying to challenge the stagger, maybe thought only 2 were coming, and instead let go of block.
Well, it's always a tough situation to be in, right? When you're presented with a win condition and you're forced to make a 50-50 guess, especially when the risk reward is not in your favor.
Oh yeah, super tough. But now we're seeing a little bit more of the Cosner we're familiar with, hitting those slides, hitting those dash cancels, I'm sorry, those dashes.
See here as Aztec tries to, again, turtle up on him. Willing to take the throw in a lot of these situations. Does not want to be put in a position where he has to make similar risks the way that Cosner does, using Kung Lao to cover the jump in on the other side. Cosner now able to ascertain some offense here. And again, we've seen Aztec, he's a big fan of the lockdown, right? Like, you can get combo conversions off of that back throw with this team. Has not gone for it. He also, I don't think I've seen him, if I'm mistaken, do a lot of this tech that other Raiden players that run the show like to do, where they kind of like to summon sector off screen, so it's a little more devious.
Yeah, like that's what they love to do with I feel like ambush. Oh, he hopped over that death roll. Ambushes in general, like Raiden loves doing that with the Kano knives, or the striker. Some of them a little easier to see than others, depending on how long they take to come out. Right now, Aztec is putting on a clinic.
Yeah, that was going to require a flawless block if you wanted to get out of that situation. All right, Cosner down 2-0. Again, I've never sleep on the possibility of a comeback here, but it's looking unlikely. There's going to be a steep hill to climb for him.
That's the overhead opening him up so easily here. Uh-oh.
Beautiful reaction.
Forward throw, the missiles coming at you.
I think a lot of players sleep on, too, how effective it is to kind of wait out a player's habit to go for down 1 and try to get those like close, basically close to guaranteed throws and responses.
Let me tell you, I was playing Aztec, and he was reacting to so many overheads. This is very, like, the patience and the concentration from Aztec is insane, out of this world.
Yeah, I think people look at his offense a lot and misunderestimate how much of that is he's able to get away with because he's so reactive.
It's not looking good for Cosner fans out there.
Oh,
Me included, doesn't get in there, doesn't get the whiff.
I like the awareness to not walk himself straight into death, but he had to approach at some point, and Aztec was going to be there waiting for him with that storm cell.
Look, man, let me tell you, after seeing that set, Aztec looked like an immovable object.
Yes.
Like, he was even. I mean, there at the end, yeah, it's a little bit more in your favor. You had a huge life lead, but like Cosner's just walking up to him, and Aztec's like, I'm not budging. Like I'm not moving. You throw some kind of overhead, I'm gonna try to, and you could even see when Cosner was doing the back two cancel, you saw Aztec stand up for the back two, and then as soon as he saw any funny business with the possibility of the death roll coming out, which is the low, immediately went down below. Like, if you look at it frame by frame, you can see that this is somebody who is reacting.
Yes, and Cosner did try to cover his options as best as he can, right? That is the utility that you got to had a lot in this situation.
Yeah.
So you can go for death roll, try to cover it, but you do have to cook it a lot before. So your opponent does kind of have an idea that you're trying to protect in some instances. As long as they see it summoned and watch you walk in front of it, they can kind of get an idea of what's going on. I also like the immovable object analogy because Cosner usually in matchups like this does feel to a lot of players like the unstoppable force, right?
That's true.
They cannot keep him out. You know, we're
And,
usually curious which one will win in that battle, at least for today. For that instance, it was Aztec. That is winner's side, so Cosner is not completely out of the race. He will have an opportunity to potentially run that back. It is a stacked top 8 for him to get through to do so.
Definitely. Stacked top 8, and, you know, what's really interesting about this top 8, a lot of players that are very familiar with each other. Speaking of players I'm familiar with, these are players I've known for a very long time. Mike Metroid, along with Cosner's roots, dating all the way back to the MK9 days, the early Kombat Network days, so big shout-outs to Kombat Network. And on the other side, we have Hercules. Now, a lot of people might not be familiar with Hercules, but I met Hercules at the tail end of Injustice 1. That's 2014. Really, really good Batman player, but always kind of kept fighting games, you know, in the mix in terms of like his life and his lifestyle. And he's been putting a ton of work into Mortal Kombat 1, and it shows here. He made a grueling top 8 winners appearance, the run all the way here to this, and he's one set away from beating Aztec in the winners finals. But Mike Metroid, no slouch in himself as a player, but also no slouch in the sense of Johnny Cage is really good.
Yeah. and honestly, if you guys had the privilege of watching Mike Metroid play yesterday when he was working to qualify for this, he kind of acts like he operates off of hype meter in real life too, right? One of the more entertaining sets that we noticed.
He's very animated, I will say that.
Yeah, so it might be limited here, right? Because you're working through Kenshi locking you down, but if an opportunity is presented, I wouldn't be surprised to see, you know, a little bit of a troll factor, meme factor included in here. And I do think there are a lot of people that aren't really fully aware of the full utility that Johnny Cage Striker presents, that kind of get their eyes open to it watching Mike Metroid since he's so familiar with his shell. If you're looking for interesting tech, this is going to be a great set to watch later.
And I will say, Mike Metroid has wanted to play this team literally as soon as these two characters were announced. He said, I'm maining Johnny, and the cameo is 100% going to be Striker. And Mike Metroid taking that first game over Hercules.
Right, the Striker Grenade's going to cover a lot of options. I do hear a lot of Kenshi players know that they do not like this matchup too, right? They find it a less favorable one. Johnny's ability to slip out of setups that will feel more likely than often guaranteed against a lot of the roster.
Yeah, it's a lot of, you know, that parrying coming out of here, the hype meter starting, and you've got to be terrified. Like, what can you do? Now, that's one of the things he can't cancel into another one. Oh, man, the back 3, but he does drop it. Don't give Kenshi an inch because he will take a mile. Sento setup absolutely coming out of this.
Oh, an immediate breaker. I understand it, too, right? Sento's such a heavy momentum-based.
Oh, good block on the Sento. Got to keep this onslaught at bay here. Overhead low. There's the overhead. Let me tell you, Kevin, let me tell you, give Kenshi an inch and he will take a mile.
It kills me, too. I've never seen an overhead that looks less like one in my life. It's a Kenshi sword. I've seen it catch many players off guard. Mike definitely used to visually recognizing it, but just caught off guard there, right? It's a lot of mix to deal with.
I love seeing the smiles there of the players, just both having a great time here.
But I will say, I do think that's a theme that's going to be pretty consistent throughout this top 8.
Yeah, everyone, again, very familiar. Good blocks by Hercules and a good presence of mind there, knowing that Johnny Cage is so negative after that. Not negative enough to be punished, but, hey, he's probably going to be blocking.
And listen, with a character like this, every time you have an opportunity to take your turn back, you have to, right? You can't, as you say, like, give him an inch, take a mile. I think it's true for both of these characters, right? A grand majority of the community frustrated with trying to answer the both of them back.
Oh, the breaker pushing him a little bit closer to Sento, but Sento, I think, not going to make it out in time. The down 2, that could have been a lot worse. I think he pressed the button.
Yes, he did. The full commit.
Light him up, light him up.
If
we can get a player cam, we can see them mashing.
Yeah.
They're mashing. So again, for those of you who don't know, if you mash during the Fatal Blow animations, both on defense or offense, you can That is crazy. Down the middle? 350
Down the middle. It evened out
exactly?
perfectly, but Mike turned it into a guess for game situation into an immediately favorable one, right? When you're Johnny Cage, how often is pressing forward 3 going to be incorrect?
It's a good button.
It seems like it's the great equalizer. It solves everything.
It's a good button indeed. Mike Metroid taking that first game. The striker, excuse me, grenades coming out as bait.
And that's going to be the problem, right? Johnny Cage is already a character that presents few opportunities on defense to answer him, and now the few that he does present get covered by striker grenades. It's very hard to find a turn in here.
Super punishable situation as Hercules takes the prize presented to him. And that's
the dream.
Yeah, that's the dream. 100%. Good call out by Mike Metroid.
Look at Sento doesn't know when it's his turn either. Just in the background waiting.
Catch your breath. Sento, get up. Help me, Sento.
Oh, it comes back just in time, but now he's going to need to find an opportunity to reset him if he'd like to take advantage of it again. And Striker once again covering everything.
Let me tell you, that string, that low string by itself with no Sento to back you up, Omega unsafe. And I don't know why Hercules felt the need to go with that option. Good block by Mike Metroid on low.
Into Cop Bob. Again, just no margin for error here. Not going to get this continuation. Again, these hype combos, a little difficult to execute, but the opportunities that they provide are so good, and the damage that you can cash out on if you have the execution to perform them. Because they can be lengthy. And now this just plus strength, he's not going to stop. He is not going to stop, especially if he... Mike Metroid is a huge momentum monster, right? If he feels that you're hesitant, if he feels you're turtling, he will take advantage.
So that was just plus frames after plus frames. Can we get a fatality? We're going right back, putting him in the Lambo, brand new. And we got a coach coming up here. Of course, Mike Metroid not sweating
concerned about it at all.
Not sweating it at all. Not trying to be sneaky. We got competitor ready to get up here on the loser side of the top 8.
A lot of these competitors have been itching all day. That casual setup was stacked.
I'm sure it was.
All right, a shadow kick off rip. Striker would have been able to cover that too.
He just did it again.
Yeah.
He just did it again.
He's going to fight for his turn again, a character that already never gives you one.
That's
now provides
fair.
even less.
Not fairs, ladies and gentlemen. Not fairs at all.
I will say I do think there's a grand majority that don't necessarily feel bad for Kenshi right now either.
I don't feel bad for any of these guys. If I could have it my way, both these guys would lose.
Yeah, this would be a loser side match.
Popping him up, Sento taking him for a ride, and of course we're going to end it with more Sento setups. Not quite a sandwich, but smart move there by Hercules to down 2, knowing that the grenades were going to come and stop any actual punish. Get the hit in there, take the trade, and make sure you hit him harder than he hits you.
Yeah, it's a great answer, for, especially at high-level play. If you do not time Striker perfectly in a lot of situations, it's the most damaging trade you can get. And if they continue to run that gamut, that damage adds up.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. And like there, right there, we can see Mike Metroid looking for that perfect timing that you did mention there, where the down 2 would get stuffed out. But again, if they do it a little bit earlier, then it's a little bit less plus frames for Johnny Cage or for the Strikers team.
And unfortunately for him, Striker doesn't cover the way he's hoping. You got to keep in mind, too, that not only is Striker good for stealing turns, but for a lot of these hype combo extensions, he does also allow you to get continuations off of Striker grenades if you can time them correctly in between strings.
Oh, yeah. Back throw from Hercules. And what an armor reversal here coming out of Mike Metroid. That one little gap did give him a little bit of momentum, a little bit of breathing room to turn the tables completely here as Hercules finds himself. And that is not going to be a bite.
Yeah, this is going to be an easy round for Mike Metroid in response to that opportunity presented.
And that was just more of like a, I want to say like a flinch reaction coming out of Hercules, just reacting to the fact that Mike Metroid decided to just kind of move in, but didn't commit to anything too crazy.
Well, let's start. I think a lot of competitive players can relate to it, right? You start establishing a win condition in your head, and sometimes you see it before it actually happens, right? The imagination takes over.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. You start seeing things like mirages.
Yeah.
Mirages to victories, I'll call them.
The cop bob successful again.
Ooh, a little cheeky down 2. Don't even need the sword for that. Getting a little too, what's the word? A little too desperate for that spacing.
Good recognition to freeze there, so he didn't potentially get clipped. He might have been able to push the offense past Striker grenades, right? There is a level of disrespecting it that sometimes player needs to get aware of. I think similar sentiments for Sector missile, right? You have to understand when it's not real, but it's not the easiest visual indicator to identify.
Oh, the down one into the...
Oh, and this is where it gets tough.
No.
Yeah, force him to block a sequence. That is going to be chip out. Mike Metroid successful here on winner side.
And we're giving him another Lambo, so you guys can hear. Mike Metroid going to be going up.
Yeah, the classic.
Going to be going up against Aztec on the winner side, and he is absolutely hype. Working this crowd right now.
Yeah. I mean, again, in real life hype meter, we talked about it before. If there is somebody that feeds off the energy of the crowd, it is definitely Mike Metroid. He's going to be one of the most entertaining competitors you can find in that aspect.
Oh, look, man. Guaranteed himself top 3 at the least. He's feeling himself.
Yeah, and I think he has every reason to.
Feeling good. Both pretty one-sided matches on the winner's side, I will say.
Yes. And again, both matches of just playing it patient and kind of forcing the opponent to chase, right? You kind of get a life lead. To some aspects, lay them out. There were obviously like some instances where you have to engage to kind of keep them off beat so they can't march you down the way that they would hope to.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
Increase their margin of error by forcing them to try to make those mistakes to close that gap and then take advantage of them. And then the life lead gets even greater for you.
Oh, yeah.
It's been a tried and true strategy for as long as the fighting games have been competitive.
Yeah, I mean, it really depends on everything that's really at display here. You know, some of those cameos are very fun about or complementing your aggressive play, complementing your normally risky play style, as it just kind of lets you, retake turns. But that's all about managing your meter, and a cameo meter bar is totally separate from, your traditional EX moves, your enhanced moves on the bottom of the screen. So you kind of have to keep your eyes and ears, if you will, all over the screen if you want to make sure you manage all that right.
Yeah.
Stuff there. I mean, hey, I love seeing the support that all these companies are giving each other and the support they're giving to NEC. So I just want to give a last shout out to Big E Gaming and NEC for putting this event on. I've had a phenomenal weekend here. Played so much, learned so much, and had,
Oh,
so
yeah,
many
grand
great
time
memories.
every year.
Oh, yeah.
Annually, if you're in the area. I would encourage you guys to come out. Now, we talked about showman with Mike Metroid. This isn't going to be the same in the aspect of feeding off the crowd, but as far as technical skill, Wraith MK, a big advocate of trying to take this specialized technical character in Shang Tsung. He usually can't resist the urge to murph into his opponents.
He's very good at it.
But he has been a Shang specialist and loyalist since day one of Mortal Kombat 1. He was a Shang player in Mortal Kombat 11 as well. As long as I've known him, he's been playing this character. Shang Goro, a show that you see a little less often, but he's made great use of it throughout his winner's side run. And of course, throughout his entire run. Has brought him here to losers top 8. He actually had to play a Shang mirror versus another Shang player, probably the two strongest in the bracket that we had today. Came out on top in that. It was the first time they ever competed against each other. So that was an interesting set for the two of them, and is now here against the Alphabet, who's been putting on a clinic with the classic Melina Kung Lao, which I know you're a big fan of.
Oh, yeah. Love Melina and any MK. Very fun to play against. Let me tell you. Any modern MK, you want to get that Melina experience. That won't drive you up the wall. Look at that spacing from Wraith. Just perfectly right outside that space, but just close enough to make it hurt. And the Alphabet is finding himself getting tossed into the corner by Goro. I love the way that Wraith uses sweep. He just kind of is at that max range. Damage boost. Damage boost from Melina. He knows all these strings, all these combos. I don't think the Alphabet liked that too much. It makes it more confusing that he also morphs into your exact same costume.
Yeah, so you've really got to track live bar here if you want to keep track of what's happening.
Oh my God, it's Shang Tsung
He's been exposed.
Who is it?
And this is one of the problems with this matchup, right? That was definitely like a little preemptive ball roll, right? YOLO ball roll, very successful for Melina players, but while she has the ability to get slippery in this matchup, which can be annoying for Shang Tsung, she has to be very, very delicate with her timing, because every time she is incorrect, right, he will turn those extensions and answers into 40% conversions every single time she slips up. So she's afforded maybe 2 or 3 of them, and Shang Tsung can put a lot of damage on the board, sans having to spend any meter resources, so it's a consistent punish. So you can't really rely on the concept that, like, oh, he's burned a little bit of meter, I can only hold so much. He doesn't really need it as long as he's got the execution.
Yeah. And it's, again, holding on to meter for other reasons, even if it's to, let you play a little bit more risky. Some players love, withholding that extra damage boost just to get, hey, I can play a little bit more reckless. It'll be harder for them to really see anything, and then I have that safety net of that breaker. You're like, where are you going with this? Yes, the breaker.
No, well, it's interesting. I mean, speaking of breakers, one of the big advantages of being a Shang player is that you can actually tailor some of your routes to be unbreakable because you can combo projectiles over and over and over again. And one of the great things about the Goro shell specifically is his ability to pick that up full scream off an armored wake up. He can just call out a gap or go for an, you know, kind of defensive reactive down forward 2, spend 1 bar of meter on it, call Goro out for pickup, and then just continually spam projectiles on Oki.
I definitely see that. Definitely seeing shades of that. Nice little hop there by Shang Tsung. I believe that's his overhead. Goro here coming to make it safe, but getting smacked in his face for his trouble, and decides to wake up again. Yeah. This time with absolutely no Goro to keep him safe. But that's just when they think you're not going to do it at all.
And we've discussed managing resources in a match like this. Cameo resource is actually going to be very important, right? Sindel with Sub-Zero Shell has a great ability to hit confirm any combo into Snap, thus reducing the cooldown necessary for Sub-Zero and making him a lot more active, while Goro is known to a lot of the competitive community, noted for how long his cooldown actually is, right? You burn 2 of them, and you're essentially waiting like you spent horizontal Cyrax.
Round 2.
I just say how cool it is that Shang like morphs into you so fast,
yeah.
like mid-combo, and like he knew exactly why he wanted to morph in her. Okay, Wraith says everybody gets hit by that.
Yeah.
Impossible. Impossible to react to. So if you're not crouching, that Goro grab will whiff, and it's a full combo punish, but he just does it perfectly in those strings where he knows you're going to be ducking expecting a low.
Yeah. And it's one of those great strategies too, right? Because you basically threaten a low, and if they're crouching or blocking, right, they'll get tossed. If they get hit, it's a hit confirm. So the margin of error on your side is really minimal. Goro, great shell for Shang Tsung too, to basically cover, like he does for a lot of characters, a lot of punishable opportunities and turn them into advantageous ones. And Wraith here clearing through the Alphabet Sindel as fast as he cleared through the Kung Lao. This is going to be problematic if you're Alphabet.
Yeah, not a comfortable position here for the Alphabet.
Shang Tsung wins.
He does play a lot of characters. I'm surprised he doesn't play Shang because of how many characters the Alphabet plays.
Yeah.
But I think he likes playing I don't think he likes playing characters like Johnny or Kenshi. He likes, I mean, you know, I think he likes playing those characters that get under your skin a little bit more.
Yeah.
Characters that just love to do things, if you will.
I mean, it definitely seems like he's a big fan of speedy pressure and not getting off your back, right? Every show he's run so far is some version of that. Melina Lau, where if she happens to slip in a 1-2 overhead, you're eating upwards of 40% into hearts of blockable resets that seem to never go away, right? She'll use Lau for the hearts of blockable, and then by the time she's done with the combo, she's essentially got all his meter back. Sindel, that's just pressure heavy as far as all of the Adenians go, one of the best ones for that, and they can confirm into Sub-Zero to make it even easier to do. And now Raiden, who of course everybody's a fan of.
Oh yeah, everyone loves that Raiden pressure, always doing things, whether that's, you know, making you pull your hair out for not blocking the overhead that doesn't lead into much, or making you pull your eyes out for getting opened up by that low that leads into a ton of damage. And of course with this Serena build, the Serena team, that's going to be easy access to damage if he finds those hits.
Yeah, it's one of those great strategies because you essentially have to be concerned and neutral about getting clipped with Serena for the entirety of this set, and the damage that he'll get off of it, as you mentioned, incredible. I do know Shang players generally tend to not mind Serena so much because if they make projectile trades with the main character or Serena, usually the character that was running her doesn't get the confirm that they wanted, especially if they're overextending at full screen. So sticking something out like triple skulls to kind of buy you that time, even if you end up making the trade, can be beneficial for them, especially if they have a life lead.
Oh yeah, I could see that. Just tons of projectiles on the screen to really just kind of keep it going. And that's pretty much unique to Shang Tsung. I feel like a lot of characters in this game don't have more than one projectile without, you know, having to spend meter.
Yes. All right, now here's the big forward 4 confirm. That's going to be the go-to bread and butter in old form for Shang. Gets clipped with the Serena here, though.
I think he's dead.
Yeah, with no ability to break. This is going to be guaranteed damage.
Let's get the mash cam. Let's get the mash cam on them. They're mashing their buttons to reduce or maximize this fatal blow damage.
Yeah, I don't know. I think this one is a guaranteed. Sometimes the minigame isn't the deciding factor depending on how much damage you've done. I think here they might have been just degrading their controllers a little bit.
Hey, look, man, there's a difference of 10%.
Yeah, right? there is.
There's a 10% difference between mashing uncontested and then completely contested without mashing.
Listen, I'm just of the mindset that if I can tell that it's not going to make a difference, I'd like to have a controller tomorrow. You know, so I try to be cautious.
I just want to not be out of breath when it's time to play again.
For sure. I mean, listen, if you're a big fan of the NRS scene, you'll notice a lot of us that we're going to have a Street Fighter 6 Luke style forearms by next year.
There we go, mashing in the gym.
All right, nice throw in response. You got to be careful too. Once Wraith starts realizing that's an answer that you go for, he will start looking for micro ducks to answer it. And of course, Shang Tsung can get a lot off of that. 1-2, not the most optimal starter for him, which can be damaging.
Oh, the overhead opening him up nice and easy.
Beautiful throw tech.
Yeah, gets a throw tech. Very smart to know which side he was going for.
And better spikes usually punishable by a decent amount of the cast if you are reactive and have practiced it. Wraith covering it with Goro. And of course, not only does it protect him from what could be a punishable move, but also provides distance that Shang so desperately needs, especially against a character like Raiden.
Yeah, I want to make a comment about what Wraith is getting the Alphabet with a lot. He's going up to him and shimmying him, basically. Alphabet thinking a throw is coming, holding down and letting go a block, and Wraith just giving him a mid. That mid right there, as you can pay attention, it's been the demise of Alphabet for almost this entire set.
Yeah, and it's a consistent strategy in his play. Of course, once you start turtling on it, you're opening yourself to just take more chip damage, so he doesn't necessarily mind the opposite situation where you just end up holding 10% chip from a 4-hit sequence into a 3-hit special move into Goro that provides all of that and makes him, again, impossible to get to.
Ooh, somehow got the punish as he didn't get clipped there on that last 3-hitting low string.
Oh, and Shang Tsung finishing that string. That last kick is a high. If you do make the call that he's going to finish that extension, you can duck and punish him. But of course, you're so mentally stacked waiting for the 7 other options that Wraith provides at the end of that sequence. Normally, players aren't going to take the chance.
Oh, perfect breaker just in time to make sure Serena doesn't cash in big for the Alphabet. This is do or die for the Alphabet. I love the adjustment here. He looks like he's not going for that presence of mind that a throw is coming. And just like I said, that Wraith picked up on it too and went for an actual throw. A throw mix in this situation.
Ooh.
Whoa, Serena getting denied immediately as soon as Raiden goes into that pose, locking him down there for quite some time. There's only 10 seconds left on the clock, Kevin.
Yeah, it's going to get treacherous. I do keep in mind, too, every time that a cameo gets hit, that does also mean that they won't have access to Fatal Blow, right? They're completely stunned out for a bit. I have seen players get hit, lose access to that cameo, go, why couldn't I break? She got sniped. And Wraith taking great advantage of that little bit of time. I mean, with a life lead that strong and a character like Shang, that again, right, every single match we've seen so far has basically been one competitor forcing the other one to chase. It's been another example of it here, Wraith doing the same thing. It's going to be more of a Telltale classic Shang strategy than necessarily Aztec taking advantage of it the way that we saw before, or Mike taking advantage of it with that pseudo pressure and distance management. But advantageous nevertheless. It's worked for everyone so far.
Yeah, no, it's working out. And again, it's at this high level of gameplay, you're not going to see the players that, you know, constantly do unsafe things, that put themselves in harm's way, or, you know, they're trying to manipulate their opponent. They're trying to get in their head, seeing what they're doing. And it's not like just this mindless jumping or these super unsafe things unless you got a backup plan or a safety net like Striker's grenades, or, you know, something like Goro's raise the roof to just kind of make sure that you're okay. If this goes south, that I'm still okay.
Yeah, we see a lot of interesting character utility in Mortal Kombat 1 with the cameo system, but some of the most meta shells that we've seen are all about not only providing utility for combo extension and making it easier to trick your opponent, but mitigating risk, right? It's going to be the name of the game. Almost in any competitive fighting game, it's helpful. Cameos do such a great job in this one of doing it, and almost every successful one we've seen, Striker, Sector, Goro so far, from everybody who's been successful in their top 8 matches throughout the length of this top 8 broadcast, have been taking advantage of cameos that cover them in some way or another and present those opportunities.
Let me also add to that. So far, we've only seen 3-0s.
Yeah.
Like straight washes in this top 8. And ambushes are just so good, man. I mean, I know the Kung Lao hat is kind of seen as like one of the best cameos right now, but that is that one thing that the Kung Lao hat, low hat, does not have. It's not an ambush. So it's not as easily applicable in so many different situations. Like, you have very specific setups. Like, after you find a hit, you know, you can end a string in it. Every knockdown in this game is a hard knockdown, so like you're super plus after you knock somebody down, and that's when you set up the fun blockables with Kung Lao's low hat and any accompanying or any supporting overhead, whether that's just a regular jump in or some kind of overhead in your string that leads into a great situation. Competitor versus Poseidon.
Yes, this is going to be an interesting one. So we're definitely sitting on a, I don't know how you would feel about it. I'm going to say polarizing sides of the tier list right now, right?
Sure.
I don't think Reptile's necessarily all the way at the bottom, but we do know that if competitor goes Johnny the way we expect, Johnny is generally considered to be all the way at the top. With that being said, most Reptile players that I talk to in my little Zetaran club, we don't feel this is the most uncomfortable matchup. Like, it's the same frustrations everybody has dealing with Johnny, right? It's frustrating that it's Johnny, but the way Reptile answers him, if you have the right reads, are pretty decent, right? You don't necessarily have to always entertain, though it can be inconsistent, you don't always have to entertain his jump and kick game that forces you to do up block as a response because anti-airs are inconsistent. Because if you get him to overextend, slow force ball, he'll just land right on that. You get conversions. If you get any bit of life lead, he does have to chase you, and as we mentioned before, right, that increases his margin of error for a character that usually doesn't have any. When he's in your face, he's a nightmare. But against Reptile, he has to get there. Reptile doesn't necessarily have disjoints, but his back three definitely will feel like one in some situations. And it can be sneaky.
Yeah, it's one of those buttons that really opens you up just for thinking that it's your turn to swing. It's one of those buttons that makes you regret putting your opponent into a check situation. Like, I'm going to challenge these plus frames, or I want to make sure you don't move after this. Went right up to the force ball and was able to block it, recognize it, and just an easy peasy punish from the competitor, running all over Poseidon right now. The death roll on wake up, the armor move coming in clutch here for Poseidon. Good block of that Kung Lao hat, and pretty respectful backdashing after that that +2 situation for Johnny
Yeah, and death
Cage.
roll is going to be very helpful too here, especially since we're running the classic Johnny Cage Lao shell, right? In most situations, as you mentioned, right, you want to go for Lao head, it's a summon. If you call out the summon, death roll gets you out of that situation every time, very far away from the corner, allows you to essentially reset neutral against Johnny in a situation where most other characters can't, right? It's not going to be as effective if, like, doing a jump special with Katana and getting conversion, but it's about the next best thing.
Oh yeah.
And you're going to notice a similar strategy here from Poseidon too, running Striker, because Reptile has so many gaps in his offense. It helps cover it, but it's not going to help mitigate this damage and this mind game he's got to deal with in the corner off of safe jump into plus frames. But again, the slide to deal with the Lao head.
Yeah, again, EX slide does give you that hit of armor. Had he decided to wake up, press buttons, that could have been a great punish for him, but just unsure of the situation and just a little scrambled, I can see, from the offense coming from competitor. Johnny Cage knocking on the door of defense. Do you have the courage to block through all these plus frames? Do you have the courage to refrain from wanting to check someone when you think they're going to challenge that check with a nice knee to your face?
That's a perfect distance management back three there from Poseidon, who's starting to get the conversion. Dashing up, using Striker to protect. Right, there is an instant situation where you're a little too close and that gets blocked and it'll cover.
Yeah, that was a competitor thinking that it was his turn, thinking I can swing and I'm going to be okay. Here comes Reptile's back three. Love the stagger pressure here from Poseidon. He's also, like, you know, that is a flawless blockable gap there. And he's covering it with Sector so well. And Poseidon completely turning this around here. That first game, that first round, I should say, 100% going to competitor. And right now, Poseidon is in the driver's seat, feeling himself. You see a little bit of that shift from competitor. So scared of that throw that could possibly be coming his way.
Yeah, and then one of the great things you mentioned too about that flawless blockable gap that he's covering is not only does it protect you in a situation where you cannot, where you would most likely get punished. If they do have the ability to flawless gap, we'll see if competitor shows that skill set somewhere between the set. I imagine he has the ability to do it, but also if they mistime it and get launched, you do get combo extensions off a Striker. In the corner, there's some of the more optimal routes to Reptile, and they're meterless.
That's fair.
And Reptile already a character too that, I'll be honest, one of the benefits of him is that since you don't need meter for his combo extensions, right, his optimal route is 37%. It's pretty generally easy to execute and requires no bar. You can save it for just about everything else. And we're going to take the fatal blow because any other combo route wouldn't have killed, right? He would have gotten breaker by the time. I think it would have been a weird one to spend, but he would have had the ability to do it. We're just going to take the guarantee.
I got a little theory about that play there. I think he was trying to manipulate a emotional breaker. You know, because a lot of people, when they see that fatal blow is about to combo and connect, they, you know, it gives them time to panic, so to speak. You know what I mean? Like, should I break this? Should I not break this? And I almost feel like Poseidon was wanting the competitor to break that so he'd lose his 3 bars going into the next round.
Well, I mean, listen, we coined them yesterday, emotional breakers, right? You catch somebody stressed out. It's very advantageous to start the next round with a stick full of butter while your opponent has been melted.
Yeah, totally gone, totally empty, no resources for you to have. Back throw here from Poseidon. Is it going to be enough, or is he going to take the moral victory that he got the switch over? I mean,
Yeah, it was
Hey,
going to be a tough one.
Yeah.
I will say, I was talking a little trash to Wraith and casuals earlier, right, in a round where I was down that bad too. And I was saying that sometimes in a situation like that, when the round is pretty much lost, sometimes you're just fighting to make a point, right? Like, there is a bit of mental stack to it, an opponent being this close to a guaranteed round that just can't eliminate you for 20 seconds. Now imagine doing that when I have full life again.
Not a fun thing to do. Pushing him closer to the corner, challenging that Lao low hat. That is +2 for the wielder of the Lao low hat. So that just shows you, oh boy.
This is going to be problematic too. Reptile is so, oh my God.
Why is that? Why did that work? Why did that work?
I want to say that it was accidental too, right? I don't think that anybody in their right mind would have done that purposefully.
Can somebody tell me why that worked? Can somebody tell me? Can you make this happen? Nah.
Yeah. That punch, even the classic down 2 that we referred to would have worked there.
That stand one.
Yeah.
Like the grenade was so on point that like he didn't have time to get the second hit out of that string. That's how on point that grenade was. That's how sure Poseidon was that this is going to get blocked.
Let's see how he tries to get his offense going again here. Strike grenades do a great job of covering, but usually cannot be called out while you're directly next to the opponent. You want to be a little further distance away to force it to be a check. We also see it in a lot of situations get used as an armor break, right? You're expecting certain wake-up attacks from characters. Johnny's going to be harder to track with it, but it is not impossible, especially when you've got to get them through force balls and striker grenades. That can lead into armor break and combo if you were to challenge something like an amplified shadow kick. Nice cover here, using striker to provide that punishable opportunity. Here's the optimal damage, well, actually a little short of, from Poseidon. I think he could have 2-3-3. Maybe he just prefers that route. Now, I will say you can, one of the interesting things with Reptile that a lot of people don't take advantage of, you can, against certain characters, I don't think Johnny's on that list, can get 1-2 in the corner and then do a back forward 2 to them on Okizami, and it'll actually flip the wake-up attacks of like half of the roster.
Yeah, no, that's definitely definitely something overlooked by many. Little block the overhead there, doesn't watch his toes, or more likely was backing off to try to make something with. But that back 3, so tough to be one of those moves. Probably one of the best normals that Reptile has. Good block of the shadow kick. Going to be a big punish, but he drops the combo in the corner.
So unfortunate. All right, here's the pickup. He's managing to make up for it. He's going to try to secure the kill here. Of course, New Breaker was accessible. Notice how he...
Jump back, get out of there. Get out of there. Oh, God, he got hit, he got opened up. Big kick to the other side, and a perfectly timed throw. But it is going to give him some breathing room. So what's he going to do? Decides to go in with some striker. Why not?
That's easy. We don't have to think about it. And again, right, as soon as these players can recognize the win condition, they're going to take it. That chip damage, you're going to tell me you're going to flawless block double striker grenades into Reptile offense that consistently. In a pressure situation like that where you know you lose the game if you can't do it?
Look, man, you just got to flawless block one. You just got to flawless block
You just got to flawless block one, but you got to be ready.
You just got to flawless block the first one, okay? Anyone can do it. It's easy.
All right, competitor with that classic, you know, chin scratch, little thinker pose, right?
Ah, the thinker.
Back to character select. Like, I don't imagine he's going to switch. He can. He's done it before, right? Switch off of Johnny Lau. I think this is more of a moment to recollect than it is one to consider a bit of coaching.
Yeah,
listen, I'm not convinced that Mike didn't just go up and tell him just be more hype.
He said, make sure you build your hype meter. The crowd wants to see it. Maybe end the game with a brutality or something. I don't know.
Listen, I know for sure, I know you do as well, that competitor is one of those Johnny Cage players. You're kind of in one of two camps. You either take advantage of hype or you don't, or you have the ability to or you don't. The competitor definitely has the ability to. If you've ever taken time to scroll through his Twitter outside of memes and, you know, the mix of is this actually his or Furious Pillows, you know?
Oh, yeah.
He's posted so many hype combo extensions with almost every cameo in the game at this point. He has the ability to do it, but he's got to find opportunities in the match to even build that meter.
Oh, yeah, perfectly timed jump in there. The first jump in to break the armor, the second one to make sure it beats the active frames.
And I think we're going to see a lot more of that from him, right, too. Like, I think he's noticing that Poseidon is one of those competitors, right? Similar to Cosner in the Reptile camp where you cannot let them slip away from you. So every bit of risk that we can mitigate is helpful here, and that safe jump from Johnny is guaranteed either combo or pressure exchange off of the same route. All right, nice with the Lau. Had everybody calling in the cameo off rip.
I love how the cameo worked on both sides. Everybody got hit in the face or the chins.
Listen, they're serving their purposes in the least. Waiting out the Kung Lao summon, one of the better benefits of it, right? Getting to put that fear in your opponent, kind of force a turtle situation. Poseidon making the most out of it, though.
Let me tell you, man, Reptile is one of those characters that's so hard to walk back away from. those toes on that back three just always clip you as you're trying to just get a little bit of breathing room, and I feel like that's something that's overlooked by many.
I do think Poseidon tried to go for an up block there, but just didn't have the time to do it. And Johnny Cage has one of those fatal blow conversions that's pretty damaging in a lot of situations. And of course, mashing is going to be effective to this. People are worried about scaling. His tends to feel like it never does.
I don't see Poseidon
easy
mashing.
50%.
I don't see him mashing.
I think he's actually so fast that it's impossible to, you know?
I don't know, man. It looks like he gave that up. He could have had a little bit more health if he mashed just a little bit.
Listen, there's always a possibility that he could have mashed harder, right? You never know if you're mashing hard enough. I've actually picked up a double claw strategy now.
Oh, dude.
Where now, yeah, I rest the controller on my lap, and I basically turn it into a mini hitbox throughout the length of the Fatal Blow animation. And then when it's done, I stop keyboard tapping, and I pick it back up.
Well, look, man,
I'm so paranoid about how fast I can do it.
Do you think you can outmash anyone? Should we make that a new side tournament?
We could make it a side tournament.
Outmashing Fatal Blow animations.
Yeah, like a test your might speed run?
Yeah.
You think a hitbox would be helpful for that?
I feel like
I imagine.
I feel like a hitbox / arcade stick definitely has the advantage as long as you know how to double tap while also hitting buttons.
Oh yeah,
with your
you
thumb.
can plink. Yeah. Oh.
Yeah.
You know what? I'm upset now. Let's get away from this conversation. I don't want to think about it anymore.
You're like, hold on a second. I play on pad. Time to downplay the pad.
All right, here we go. More pressure exchanges from competitors. We know that Poseidon is willing to challenge these, but again, in a Game 5 scenario, especially where the loser from this is going to be the first one to get eliminated from top 8 today. Oh, no, actually, no. From, Hercules was, but yeah.
Hey,
but
look,
the fact that they're going to get eliminated is going to put that extra stress. Maybe you don't want to take the chance when your life is on the line.
I mean, I'm just glad we got a Game 5 situation here. The striker grenades actually hit. I'm not sure what was being summoned, but I saw somebody just flash there. Unfortunate. And no hype build? He ended it with the he is so like, and that's free hype build too.
Yeah.
And the combo and the round with a shadow kick, and if you hold it, you build free hype meter. And what a call out here from competitor, ducking right under that throw, as they are highs in this game. So every time you see a throw like that, there's a huge risk associated with it.
Yeah, I think as you mentioned before, with him not building up the hype, I just don't think he's in the presence of mind to even notice it, right? Like I think he's just so concerned about trying to cover the opportunities like that, where he might open himself up to some offense from Poseidon, that he's not even thinking about taking the chance of building it up. And a lot of the Lao show has been summoning that hat at distance, right, to build up free hype meter. We see like players like Kevin the Man take advantage of a strategy like that a lot. Competitor does not want to chance it here. Oh, I'll be real, Poseidon could have picked that up. If he would have been ready and chased down with the 4-3, this could have led into a very good situation for him.
So slippery. That slime that he keeps throwing up on himself, really adding to the mobility here of Reptile. Of course, I'm just talking figuratively, not literally. Tying it up. Final round, final game situation here.
Striker again. Getting called out, clipped a little bit, so he's going to be on cooldown for a second, but he's pretty close to being back regardless. So the second that cooldown begins, as it just did, he's got regained access to it. Beautiful shimmy.
It hurts so much.
It's really important for final game, final round, too, I think, right? It's kind of like a subconscious thing both competitors are concerned about, like a game of chicken of who's going to break first, and Poseidon did not have the meter advantage. He's worked himself into it.
The death rolls spinning Johnny Cage all over this map here. Whoa, hold on a second. That was a weird little interaction, and I think not even the competitor was ready for it. Poseidon looking great right now. Another touch. Not a throw's not going to be quite enough, but after this chip damage, it definitely will. Did you see how much it did?
Yes.
Did you see how much it did?
One of the better advantages of it.
And we got the brutality with the death roll. I really wish we could see it, but that's okay. You can hear the animation. You can feel it in your hearts.
This was such a grand. One of the biggest things that I was a fan of what Poseidon was doing technically throughout those last couple of exchanges was he was in a situation the round before the final one, right, where competitor had the option to break and adjusted his combo route just in case, and then finished off the damage when he noticed that he wasn't going to, and then made similar adjustments in the last round. Where if you drop that combo where it looked at like that weird setup with force ball on meter, you can turn that into an armor break. Yeah. So there is a Reptile strategy with some of us where we'll drop, notice force ball came out, and you can check with back 3, and if they go for a wake up, it double hits and breaks the armor and then gives you an opti convert.
Yeah. And it's again that the force ball stays so active for so long, like in that vicinity, is like I feel like it's just always in play.
Plus, I'll be honest, that extra 2% of splash damage that you get from it doesn't hurt.
And I think that was really the panic factor that happened there to competitor in the end, where he was he was in that situation where, like, you know, when you're in that area where you're around like 11, 12, 14%, you kind of think to yourself, am I one throw away from losing?
Yes.
And I think he was just like probably so hyper fixated on that he saw that life go so quickly to like 15%, 13%, 11%, 9% for every force ball he was hitting or getting or blocking, every force ball that he was blocking. Those add up, man.
Yeah.
Those easily add up.
I mean,
But I know I know I give you guys flack for downplaying Reptile a lot, but every force ball you throw out is huge risk involved with it.
Yeah.
Somebody jumps in right at that perfect moment. They're either, you know, if they have like a mobility option like Sub-Zero's dive kick, it could be easily a full combo every time they jump in at that perfect timing. But you know, that's why we love fighting games.
Yeah,
it's a lot of back and forth, a lot of options.
One of the tails of the tape with that matchup and the way that it can become advantageous for Johnny is he's a character that basically gets to dictate the frame data when they're both in close vicinity, right?
Yeah.
Reptile has a surprising amount of startup and recovery to a lot of his moves, like his back three, which is our go-to button, right? It's the great equalizer for us.
Great button.
16 frames of startup. If we miss that, we're in a world of hurt. Force ball, we've got one of the slow, I think like bottom two startup for fatal blows in the game between like us and Lee May. If I'm forgetting somebody, you guys can let me know later. But
you're really digging.
I don't listen. This is my thing, right?
Tell me.
I personally consider Reptile to be very. I don't think he's bottom tier.
Sure.
Right. I think his weaknesses don't make sense given his win condition. That's my complaint. I think the whiff punish game with that many gaps. I think if a lot of people would be surprised when I say the Reptile's punishable on everything. That he's actually. We get away with so much because you wouldn't believe that we get killed for so much. So people just don't assume there's answers in spots where they were. Everything has a gap in it. Everything is flawless blockable. If it's not, if he whiffs, he dies. And I personally still think he's A tier.
You know, I thought it was just Cosner saying this. Like, you guys are either in cahoots and like going over the same script, but it's the same conversation I've been having with Cosner for
I think he's A tier, but I do think when you fight competitors that are harder to knowledge check or are harder to shimmy, that's when it gets tough, right? When people aren't falling for all of the bait, how do you adapt? That's when you really get your skill tested as a Reptile player. How can you layer it in such a way? Yesterday, where I made that term a weirdo character in regards to him, I think that's where it comes in, right? Once I can't shimmy you, how unpredictable can I be?
So do you feel like the successful approach for Reptile is being more patient or being more aggressive?
I think you have to constantly dictate that based on how your opponent reacts to you. So there's a lot of information collecting in the first couple of rounds. And then once you understand how your opponent likes to play defense, you kind of get an idea of what they're susceptible to, and you try to take advantage of that best you can. Hope it gets you through the set before they make adjustments.
Okay. Okay. Wraith versus Hercules here. Now, I was talking to Wraith about this matchup this morning, and Wraith told me that there is one matchup in this whole game that he would consider picking Shijinko, and it was this one. So I'm a little disappointed that I do not see
You said you had that conversation with him when?
This morning.
This morning. So I have a very popular clip of him online, right, of him playing Silver in this exact matchup and managing to get Sento anyway, right, through Shen conversions. Now, I don't know. Well, no, he would use Sub-Zero as a confirm. So if he could launch in a specific way, get Sub-Zero to confirm, freeze him, turn into Kenshi anyway, summon Sento, like he's found ways to buy time to do it. He could essentially get that situation which he wants, right? Which is essentially get access to Sento.
Yeah.
To force Kenshi to deal with his own offense. And I've watched him do it in matchups. I think Sub-Zero will help him kind of like close the gap to get there because he does need to hit confirm. Right? He does have that kind of like trigger finger for Shang Tsung morph that I keep talking about.
Yes.
I wouldn't be surprised to watch him go for it at some point in this set, but he's got to be very careful about how he closes that gap to get it going.
So he's got to do hit confirm, freeze, morph into Kenshi,
find a setup for Sento, and then he can kind of get the game plan started. So usually with the Goro Shell, if he chooses to run that, the combo route would be do forward 4 route, get the first projectile, immediately call Goro. He'll buy you the time to actually EX morph under them, and then you can start to pick up with the other character, so he can get a Kenshi conversion into it. I don't think he wants to risk it as much now. Time going to be in his favor here.
Oh, yeah, and just barely, really. You know, it was back-to-back down twos. The throw did have time to actually do the damage.
Oh, he dropped it.
So
immediately changes back. Notice too. The second it didn't work out.
Hold on a sec. Back to the drawing board.
But I wouldn't sleep on him trying to find it again. I think that the drop was the main deciding factor of, you know what, I like this matchup as Shang. Right, and this is going to be one of the big dictators too, right? Kenshi has this kind of very, very big quotations on access to zoning here, right? But if Shang lands one of those ground sparks, it's full combo conversion from full screen if he spends a bar.
So, I mean, the Sub-Zero pick is really more about, you know, getting that hit confirm, getting that freeze, and that pretty much guaranteed setup as long as the execution is there.
Yes, while also giving him access to dealing with other tools and providing safety, right? So he still gets a lot of similar utility that he would get out of Goro, but it's, I think, a better kind of like countermeasure in this matchup specifically. I noticed. Just going to snipe him out of the back.
Just barely whiffed that. I thought that was going to make an easy connection here from Wraith.
A decent job blocking this too. I don't know if Shang has the fast enough startup that he needs on that full screen ground spark from old form to punish that up, you know, get that up block punish on Kenshi from full screen and then get a combo off of it.
Can we talk about the time again? Like this matchup, the fact that they're both rocking Sub-Zero cameo has just made it uber lame. Uber just sit back and wait. And
yeah,
wait
look,
for
Wraith turtling up. Yeah, and it's, I understand it too if you're Hercules. You have to do something, but
he was trying to force something to come out. And that was literally his last ditch effort to making this comeback.
I'm curious, as you mentioned, with how slow paced this match goes, how many times we're going to see timer scams, because it's rare to watch it 2 times in one game, but this might be the one match in top 8 where we get to see it happen pretty frequently. Here's his attempt at it again.
Yeah, I mean, some matchups are just like that. The Sento is out, and this is going to be on the side of Wraith controlling this puppet.
And look at Hercules turtling too, doesn't want to take the chance. There is always an interesting factor to forcing somebody to deal with the offense they put on others. You would think Hercules with the familiarity would understand more of where the gaps are, especially where, I'll be honest, it didn't look like Wraith was airtight with all of those Sento strings. He might have been able to force his way out, but again, just turtled up and played it safe. Didn't want to take the chance.
Yeah, Kenshi's got one of the you know, just like everyone in the game, has an armor move to get out of there. It's all about just the timing and when you think your opponent is going to do which specific string.
Right, again, at distance, trying to take advantage of this zoning game. This is an interesting strategy, too. I've noticed a lot of players do this as well, where once Sub-Zero armor is on, they kind of just stop throwing projectiles and wait it out. Like, why take the chance?
Oh, no spikes, but no punish, like you said, Kevin.
If he does not flawless block the next pressure sequence, that will be guaranteed route, essentially, for Shang. He'd have to do, or he could just find the opportunity there. He'd have to do a double morph, essentially, right? Forward 4 into Old Man, and then change back into Young Shang so he could get the armored special at the end, but it would be guaranteed, and he has the execution to do it.
Seen him do it time and time again. That is a bad hit confirm there, but it did go pretty much unpunished here.
Oh, getting a little hopscotchy, and you know what? I was going to judge it a bit, but it's working out. Here's the Kenshi conversion into Senso. You're afforded 2 opportunities to be incorrect right now, Wraith, so best luck at the casino. There's one. Gonna cycle it into the next opportunity. It's gonna hold a lot of this. This can basically feel like a block infinite. If you're not careful, gets picked up, but the sensible timer is out. The likelihood is so advantageous for Hercules now that it almost doesn't matter, and there's the secure.
Everybody's favorite overhead. Yeah. Easy little stab. So
the most
fast.
mid-looking animation I've ever seen, and I'm not talking about quality.
Let me tell you, man. It's an overhead. They all got their properties. It's okay.
I do think I'd like to see Hercules try in some situations where Wraith is looking for shimmy, take advantage of backdash back 2, right? You see a lot of Kenshis use that. Kenshi, one of the faster backdashes in the game, especially if he makes the read that Wraith is going to go for a down 1. That might just get him out of dodge and then help clip him. And if he's confident enough and finds opportunities, that Swift punish into Sub-Zero into the win condition of Sento.
Yeah, Kenshi's backdash is so good that he can get out of situations that literally no other character can. Uh-oh.
Drops the convert. Right, there's definitely a difference in the comfort of providing the catching pressure, and Hercules, I think, now starting to recognize it.
He's like, wait a minute, you're not as good as me at doing this? Hold on. You're just an imitation?
I'll be honest, whenever Shang morphs into you, I think it's the mindset you have to have, right? Like, you're not going to be better at my character than me. You're sure you're more damaging, but you're choosing a mirror match. Like, who's more comfortable being Kenshi right now?
That's true. I was Kenshi this morning. You weren't.
Yeah. Oh, that might be the... No, he did press.
He pressed it. He pressed it.
He went for the overhead on Okizeme. I'll be honest, too. It's one of the most unblockable overheads, it seems like, too, right? Nobody ever... You can up-block it and get punished. You can stand block and get out of the situation. Or if you're Hercules in this situation, you can fatal blow and just let him know to never do it again.
Oh, boy.
I'll be honest. I think he's doing this for you.
He is, yeah. But, you know, there we go. Just wants to add it to the lovely theme that is Mortal Kombat, splitting him in 2, calling out the next 2 games he's going to win. Hercules giving us a show, and that's okay. That's what he wants.
I mean, again, important for momentum, right? I think Wraith is one of those players that's very confident in his skill level. And in a lot of situations like this, that you're fighting nerves. And I don't think he's not susceptible to it, right? I think anybody who says there is always trying to sell you something, essentially. You know? But he is more confident than most, right? Like he's more apprehensive, but he's got the mindset. Phrased specifically to me, nobody in this venue is better than me. That's how I have to think about every competition. So he shows up in the mindset that he can always take it. It's been working out for him a little more recently.
Sure.
He's made it this far with that mindset.
Sure. I mean, not on the side of the bracket that you would like to see yourself in. I think a lot of people were surprised when Wraith went down in the tournament, or down from the winner's bracket to the loser's bracket so early on in the tournament. But crawling his way all the way back here, and anyone that's still in this top 8 can win the whole thing. They just got a tall order ahead of them.
And I do think, too, you have to think about the testament to a skill level that situation, right, provides. The fact that he went down so early and basically, for all intents and purposes, doubled the amount of matches that he had to be successful in to get here and was still able to end up in top 8.
Look, man, it really just... the fatigue builds up on you when you have to deal with so many different players, you know, playing all these different characters, and especially when the tournament life is on the line, playing a single player game of volleyball is Wraith, pushing Kenshi a little bit closer to the corner, stuffing that wake up. And I don't know if, you know, sometimes I'll accidentally get the cameo wake up when I just want to get up and then summon the cameo.
Yes.
So I don't know if that's what happened there with Hercules, but I saw that Sub-Zero coming out and then just getting immediately stuffed.
Yeah, and it's unfortunate if that was not what he was intending to go for. I will note the switch from Wraith over from Sub-Zero cameo to Goro. We haven't seen him come out yet. One of the things this will provide, remember, is full screen. If he lands one ground spark while Hercules does not have sub armor on, that is going to be a very lengthy conversion that is unbreakable. It's also, again, going to provide the same utility of safety. And as we saw in a couple of the sets before, right, you've always got to be concerned about the Goro scoop.
Got to be concerned about it. You got to watch out for it. He says everybody gets hit by it. Hopefully we'll see it real soon. No, Goro raising the roof, keeping it nice and safe. And speaking of unsafe, those spikes can definitely get punished by any character in the game.
Yeah, Kenshi has access to it. He has a very far-reaching back, too.
He didn't get hit by it, but he didn't punish it either. He didn't punish it either.
It's a weird exchange, too, right? I've played matches against the girls who have done that. Sometimes you end up not necessarily even intending to avoid it, so you're just not ready for the answer because your mind wasn't on it. Yeah,
and, you know, depending on what your punishing routes are, sometimes they'll hit Goro and not Shang Tsung or the main character in the situation.
I will say, too, I do think it's an important thing to note. It's very beneficial if you are defending against Goro in situations where they use him for safety to make sure you poke him before he leaves. He already has such an active cooldown, doubling that by just taking the extra second out to kind of stun him down the same way you would a la defending against Sento, right, to get him out of there. You don't mitigate Sento for anywhere near as long. Goro will be gone for essentially half the battle. Yeah,
so that's that poking situation that you just pointed out there. So instead of him trying to close the gap, he could have done something like down one, and just like that, Kevin, I wasn't even looking at the time.
I'll be honest, it didn't feel like it was going on that long for me. I know we're getting into the mechanics and the different strategies here, but I peeked back over as you were making that statement and was like, how did we get down to 5 seconds? It felt so active.
Why are there only 5 seconds left? I mean, look, this is on default here, 90 seconds. You can see it at the top, but they're going by very quick when, you know, you're taking your time. And I feel like both these players are very patient, which is why we kind of went down to the timers.
Yeah, and Wraith has also been very consistent with these up blocks as an answer to the zoning from distance. Here's the mistake he cannot afford. He can use Goro if he doesn't have the meter, but if he does, they didn't have to bother with it. And an interesting strategy, too. I'll notice a lot of times Shang players will like to go into old man form, right? Get that kind of like Tarkat syringe, then shift into young Shang at distance and immediately start triple sculling. It's interesting that he waited the extra second. I think he likes the threat of ground spark equally, too, because of the combo extension it provides rather than just the neutral deterrent.
I was going to say, look at that patience by Wraith, but decided to let go of block there. Maybe he was thinking of challenging a stagger. Regular forward throw coming from Wraith as he pushes Hercules a little bit closer to the corner. The up skull right before that central drop could even think about coming out. More central dropping coming from Hercules, trying to keep Wraith at bay, but Wraith is okay, which is kind of biding his time and waiting it out. Doesn't need to go in right away. He can just wait and see where the opportunities are going to present him. Pushing him closer with Goro. What a punish here.
And an understandable breaker. You know, we talk about emotional ones. I don't think that one was emotional. I understand it. But the problem now is that you're going to have to make a very quick decision. He might have timed it.
He got him. He got him. And look at the clock. 8 seconds left. Of course, it is going to be frozen here during the Fatal Blow animation, but that doesn't mean you got to put your controller down just yet.
Oh, and this is a guess or game scenario for everybody.
He
He
went
still
right in
has
his
time to
face.
get into a pressure sequence. He's going to do it protected with Goro, and now, again, put the pressure onto Hercules.
I don't think he had any, I don't know if he didn't look at it. I don't know if he just choked it up when the Goro came out. It looked like he tried to sweep Goro to get as much damage as possible, but he was just a little too far away. What a heartbreaker here for Hercules.
I mean, lore-wise, we talk about how the Liu Kang Shang battle, you know, like the energy of it, like ripped time apart. I think there was 3 different results of this one that in other universes played out. It was a pendulum swing of the hourglass. Constantly, the timer's important for you, the timer's important for me, it's important for you again.
It looked like there Wraith was baiting out for Hercules to poke the Goro in that situation. He threw that up skull right at that perfect distance, and at that perfect timing had Hercules check Goro on his way out.
That's one of the great things I love about a game like this, right? Like cameos can guarantee some situations, but the layers that you can provide as an answer to almost everything, right? There is no habit that can go unpunished as long as you know what's coming. Here goes pressuring him again, and one of the things you have to consider too, every time Wraith puts him through that sequence, that chip damage adds up. When they're full screen, he's up blocking most of those sensos, so he's not really risking himself in the same way on defense. What a down 2.
Down 2 for your troubles here. Oh, the up skulls coming your way.
I reveal a little bit of chip and one good conversion from Wraith is a difference maker here. He overextends. But gravity on the up skull doesn't work the way he wanted. He wanted him to come towards it, pushed them away, and that ruined more of the conversion he would get. And now again, timer scam.
12 seconds left.
Becoming a problem.
12 seconds left, and Wraith not on the good side of this. Knew he had to make some kind of tricky decisions, some kind of risky moves if he wanted to win that round. So don't really blame him for going in.
Oh, no, he dropped.
He missed.
I was so excited for everyone to see it.
It's a very fun combo to see.
It feels like most of this set has been playing around the fact that they realize it's taking so long, right? Like it's a lot of jockeying for a life lead and advantageous positioning so that when they get down to that timer scam, they're better for it given how they played neutral throughout the set. Wraith has definitely been favoring chip sequences that he's been afforded because Hercules obviously does not want a chance getting comboed, which is not going to be a great alternative.
Oh yeah, no, not a good alternative at all.
No punish on the better spikes.
Let me tell you, Shang Tsung's anti-airs and
actually so good.
His triple straight skulls remind me so much of MK2. I'm talking about like Mortal Kombat 2, like a long time ago. Oh,
here's the scoop.
Everybody gets hit by it. Don't feel bad. Don't feel bad at all. Stabbing him in the heart and pushing him away, checking him with not only those skulls, but also with that nice mid-knee. And Hercules going to be going down 3-1 against Wraith, taking home 5th place.
A great run for him so far, though, right? Like he, obviously, if you guys had the chance to watch some of Pools, had an incredible run to get up to here.
Oh yeah.
The level of competitor he had to deal with, the fight he was able to put up in response to that, also impeccable.
So good.
5th place with Kenshi sub, I think, is if I was a gambling man, I would have called no less than. I think, you know?
I think a lot of people would say first or second. It's such a good.
I think the only reason they might have not said is because we have a Johnny in the tournament, or we had a couple. You know,
we got a couple. We got a couple Johnnies in the tournament. Yeah, you gotta always watch out for that. Those 2 characters pretty much at the top of everybody's tier list.
Yeah.
Does it really matter where exactly you are if you're like in that top
you know,
3?
they jumble them around. Johnny, Kenshi, Ashra. You know,
I feel like it really matters. It's really more about like who got under your skin for you to say this is the best character.
I do think to that sentiment, everybody's response to who the best one is whoever their character has the worst time dealing with.
It's
for
hard.
some people it's all 3, but there's usually some version of it that's the worst for you. I don't think Johnny necessarily is stressed about Kenshi. I know the top 5s are all also concerned about the other top 5s. Like there is no break from it even if you've made a meta decision yourself.
I mean, look, it's cool that we're seeing. I feel like we're at least seeing some character diversity. We're seeing some more cameos coming out. Like I love seeing the Shang and Goro from Wraith. Just a great breath of fresh air.
Yeah, I do think Goro is one of those slept-on cameos as far as how solid he is universally, right? Like people usually are referring to Serena as kind of like Baby's first cameo, right? She does the same thing for everybody. You land a hit.
String, cameo,
string, cameo,
string,
cameo. Yep. But Goro does provide like very similar utility for everybody once you get used to his spacing, right? If your character has anything that pressures the opponent into crouch blocking, that scoop is very effective. I think also because of the fact that they're not thinking about it for most of the set, right? You're usually using him for protection, so by the time that you pull out the grab, they've forgotten about it, so they're not ready to it's not even on their radar.
And the other, yeah, that's the other thing too, is that they look so similar, because when you see this giant beast with 4 arms coming out of nowhere, you're like, oh my god, he's here to punch me in the face. And then you by the time you realize, no, it's the low grab, it's too late and you're going for a ride.
And usually he's just delivering frame data. Sometimes he's delivering you to the other side of the arena. You got to be careful.
Look at the competitors we have here on stream, both representing Mortal Kombat New Jersey with their T-shirts.
You would have thought that I set this up on purpose. This is going to be a very fun one for me. Reptile mirrors are very interesting matches, right? They're kind of like a mix, I think, mentally between having the gall and having the knowledge, right? Like, as we said before, with Wraith changing into people, it's always interesting to watch competitors have to deal with the offense they put on other people, right? Like, oh, you're very good at doing this to somebody else. But now when somebody's doing your exact offense to you, do you have the ability to defend against it? You know what you're supposed to do because you know what they're supposed to do.
Yeah.
But now that the pressure's on you to perform it, can you do it?
Look, let me tell you, whoever loses here cannot downplay.
No, they cannot.
Downplaying is off the table with whoever loses this Reptile mirror.
And I will say, as a Reptile player, right, there's kind of like a mix of cameos that we all think are the best. Most of us are now, outside of like Scorpion, are referring to Kung Lao and Striker as like top 3 potential cameos. So we'll kind of have like a fun battle of which one is better, but they provide universally the same utility. I would almost tier them exactly even.
I want to say you're in the school of...
I'm in Lao Hat School.
In Lao Hat School, right? Yeah. So
I do visit the Wuxi Academy.
Does anyone think it's Cyrex?
There's one. There's one person who might think it's Cyrex. I would tend to disagree, but I also, think having fun is a good part of the game.
Sure, yeah.
Like, there are surprising cameos for him. Goro has it. I've actually we've been working on some Goro tech today that I'm really excited about.
Ooh.
Yeah, I've got some. I'll show it to you later. But Goro surprisingly good for him. Jax can provide some surprising utility, but I think if you're going for the meta pick, it's going to be this. There's the flawless block for Punish.
I mean, that's one of those things that you were talking about, right? Like, who knows Reptile's gaps more than Reptile?
Yeah. And they're not always necessarily easy to punish, right? It is important that the gaps are there. Depending on the character you run, it could be better to answer them. Someone like Li Mei or Kung Lao that could get pickups by using their armor to interrupt the gaps will tend to spend that meter on it more because they'll get 30% conversions for it. Reptile's best answer is going to be to death roll himself. If you don't consider that damage worth the meter and you trust your ability to flawless block, if that's where you believe the sequence is going, you might as well. Oh, Poseidon, no pickup after the 1-1.
No pickup. That's a huge drop, but does get the follow-up here. American Reset, if you will. And that should be enough for this round, but...
And I'll tell you something, too. You talk about mashing. I see Poseidon's forearm is jiggling right now. Cosner just adjusting his sleeves. Now, as a Reptile player, this is guaranteed kill regardless of the minigame. But
that last
Cosner being aware
chomp,
of it didn't bother.
That last little chomp does a lot of damage.
It does a surprising amount. A lot of people forget that there's that bit to the animation. They get a little ecstatic, ready for the guess for game mindset, just to get spat out and then remember that that's added to it. Ran himself right into the force ball.
Oh no, drops that force ball follow-up though.
And just in case it's helpful visually for anybody, Cosner is going to be the Reptile in the mastered black and gold skin.
Yes, the
Poseidon in the green.
The gold shaders and Poseidon in the classic green. Back-to-back death rolls.
I like that from 2 Reptile mains. What if we kiss? That's our Cotton War Camp.
They should both just armor it perfectly.
Oh, tried to up block.
Yeah, Cosner's getting...
Maybe he was trying to jump. I do forget that tends to happen sometimes. You want to jump away from Lao Hat as an answer. You're holding block. People tend to get that as an execution error.
Oh my god, that happens to me so much. They did at least make it better than it was in the beta. In the beta, it was so sensitive that it happens to me constantly. It only happens once in a while in the actual game now.
And I will know, too, just because I had a conversation about it, I want to stop this misinformation, right? If Reptile does amplify dash, you cannot up-block the last hit. If any of your friends have told you that you can, you can't do that. You have to flawless block it or call out the gap. I've been seeing that spread around, and I just want to help the fellas out.
Wow, you're just making it even harder for the
It got brought up to me again yesterday, and I'm like, who are the people that are out there spreading this?
You know who it probably is?
Reptile players.
Yeah. Like, yeah, dude, you could totally flawless block that. I mean, up block that. Totally up block it. Go for it. Please, do it and see what happens. Do it in a top 8. Do it in a tournament. Oh, he was so sure he was going to block it, and he didn't. And now he is kicking himself as he is getting kicked in the corner. Pretty much nothing left.
Yeah, just time that meaty.
He was waiting. He was waiting to see if it was a delay wake-up or not. Had he not seen a delay wake-up, he was probably going to anticipate a wake-up attack. So he was blocking low, recognized the delay, and said, here's my time to shine. Here's a nice little sweep.
Jump away
No
to
flawless
Swamp.
block. No flawless block. No flawless block either there from Cosner. But again, it all comes down to the striker keeping that, you know, susceptible part of your string totally closed.
Yeah, and I will say one of the benefits of Cyrax, one of the few, is that you can do that amplified back forward too and then essentially cover it with horizontal, which was obviously stronger before than it is now.
Sure.
So that even if they did flawless block, they essentially will get punished for trying to punish you.
It's just as strong. It's just more expensive.
Yeah.
You don't want to break the bank. Oh, big.
Force is getting crazy.
What?
Beautiful response to the
What?
dash. Was just jumping away to get away from the pressure. And I mean, if you're going to run up to me, why not? Why wouldn't I?
What a jump back, man. That was just perfect timing, perfect placement, everything coming together here.
Oh, ends up landing on the Lao hat, the dream of a Lao cameo user. Uses the down back forward to get away from force ball. Remember, we noted before, well, you specifically, how long the start of a force ball is and how exposed it makes you.
Yeah, just jump in, guys. Just jump in.
I mean, I'll be real for some characters. Right, again, using the pressure, and you want to keep in mind that within that string, back 3-1 has a gap. So the entire sequence is back 3-1-3 into dash, back 3-1 has a gap, the 1 and 3 has a gap, the Nomad dash after has a gap, and then it's flawless blockable. There's a lot of opportunities to answer the opponent here. This is going to be guaranteed, connected into forward 3-2. Let's go fatal time, baby.
That's going to be it.
And again, we can spend your time mashing, but I think the durability is good. Poseidon's still, he's almost meme doing it now. Yeah, like,
he's like looking up at the screen, like, can you see me doing this? No.
Listen, if I wasn't in here in the commentary booth, I would have came up from the crowd, and my coaching advice would have been, it doesn't matter.
Just stop.
Yeah,
save your energy. Just save it.
I mean, like, listen, you need all these buttons. You need all these buttons. Don't wear them out.
These pads are expensive.
They do get pretty pricey. We're going to see here, he's taking some time to cool down and collect his thoughts. Now, Poseidon, like a lot of us, has gone through a couple of cameos, but has really fallen into his comfort zone with Striker. I don't imagine he's going to switch, but I do think he was kind of taking that moment to figure out what am I doing wrong that I know subconsciously that I just haven't taken an active second to think about, right? Sometimes that little bit of a reminder, like, oh, there's an opportunity here. I'm autopiloting, right? If I can just make the adjustment and make an active decision to readapt in the situation, it could be a big difference maker.
Yeah, no, autopiloting when you're winning, awesome.
Yeah.
Autopiloting when you're losing, horrible.
I mean, I think the
Just
best
stop
advantage of it when you're winning is that you don't hesitate, right? You don't really like, you don't second guess yourself, so your offense stays strong.
Exactly, exactly. Oh, both going for the sweep, but one just a little bit quicker.
Listen, it's one of the best ones in the game.
Oh, so you're not downplaying on that aspect.
No, I think he has one of the I think like Garrus's, right? Garrus acts as like a giant disjoint almost that essentially shuts down anything in front of him. Reptile, I liken it to Jackie's throw whiff almost, the way that he can just get himself out of dodge by doing it.
Now, Cosner did something very interesting there. He flawless blocked that gap that is usually covered by Striker, and he thought that he'd have enough time to down two, but it looks like that flawless block, or the negative frames on that flawless block are not big enough for a down two punish.
It's one of the things that actually makes it a very annoying punish for people who have the ability to flawless block it, because you see a lot of times if you're playing ranked in competition, players will flawless block the back forward two on the second hit, know they have a punish opportunity, and kind of just freeze. There is like an extra padding of block stun that you have to adjust to.
Yeah, it's weird. Like you think like, oh, I flawless block, so I'm ready to swing right away, but you know, every single move acts differently.
Yeah, and you've played Cosner now, so you're used to the timing. Like, you do have to wait almost an extra second.
Just a little bit, just a little bit. You know, some strings are a little easier to punish in that window, like strings that have 1-1 versus 1-2s. 1-2s are very easy to screw up and turn into just stand two by itself.
Yes. All right, and Poseidon kind of getting himself back on the board here. I don't know what mental note he made to himself, but if he can do it for another round, he'll get himself back in the action here. Again, we've noted how much this top 8 has just been dominated by 3-0 sweeps. I'd like to see Poseidon make it one less.
Hopefully Poseidon can get on the board here. Checks him with the sweep, and Cosner backing off. Now at max range, Kung Lao low hat. Very good answer for dealing with force balls, because force balls don't go to completely full screen.
Yes.
And that's what you're going to be seeing Cosner doing a lot here.
It also kind of like encourages the Reptile to not walk behind it like a human shield the way a lot of them like to, right? Because at some point you do have to block the Lao hat, so.
It makes him, it like puts him in check, if you will.
Yes. Again, Cosner getting great use out of it. This is a decent life lead here, but again, I told you, Reptile is robbery the character. I might have spoke too soon, though.
Uh-oh.
And you know, he robs is the reason Stryker wanted to come out and arrest him. He's committing crimes.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that forward 3, great answer. And I think the fact that it hit Stryker was even worse. Had Poseidon had the meter to break, the fact that Stryker got hit would have negated his ability to use breaker for a little bit.
Yeah, that's also that's we've all been there. That's a heartbreaker when you're like, I have the 3 bars, I can break, but
Yeah, what happened?
you have to remember your cameo cannot just have gotten punched in the face.
Yeah.
So, you know, even though they are only susceptible to 1 hit, it's part of your resources.
That 1 hit could be a big difference maker, especially in endgame scenarios like that, right? A lot of, like, Wraith runs into that situation a lot. You call out Goro to protect. It's very easy to poke Goro.
Yeah.
And then if he has the 3 bars and he tends to forget that someone was wise enough to punch him that little bit, he can't break out of the situation. It's guaranteed rounds sometimes.
Yeah, it's one of those things where Goro's kind of used as that meat shield for you.
Yes.
Like, instead of my character getting punched in the face and punished, I'm going to throw Goro out there, and whatever happens to Goro happens to Goro.
And, you know, we've had some more experimentation with, like, Sonya cameo recently. It's one of the ways. I've actually been running her with Reiko to be like a pain.
Sure.
Throw out shurikens, have her cover as an ambush, right? It becomes a win condition. They can't go anywhere. They have to block something, you know, if they don't have the ability to follow.
Make their way in. Yeah, sure.
But one of the best things I've been liking with doing her with Enshell is pulling her out for her ring and kind of using her as a human meat shield so that Reiko can still throw shurikens behind it. And then if they don't challenge it, you could go for a slide. If it connects, it converts. If it doesn't, it knocks them full screen again. It resets the situation. But one of the issues that I've had is doing that and then forgetting again that I won't have access to that breaker when she does get clipped.
Yeah, you're almost like you're getting so reckless with your cameo just because you don't feel like you're actually getting hit. And they don't have their own health bar. The health bar is kind of shared, which kind of explains why, like, some cameos will make you lose a little bit of health, like turn your 1,000 health character into 950, or, you know, vice versa. And, you know, I kind of see it.
Yeah, I mean, even like that giant moment that Poseidon had yesterday, right? Very clippable. The answer to Serena cameo, right? The trade combo that most Reptile players aren't usually ready to do that he was able to pull off is more optimal if you hit Serena for that reason. It's 44%, I believe, off a full trade if you get the route down. 46 if Serena happens to get clipped during it. And meterless.
Yeah.
And meterless.
Yeah. Look, man, that's very specific tech.
It is very specific tech, but it's just for a lot of trade routes, if the cameo gets clipped, it will become a little more optimal. I've seen players do that and then try to replicate it later and go, why is it not doing the damage it did before? And think they're routing it wrong, and it just happens to be that little flash of red.
Yeah, that timing on the cameo will really, you know, kind of change it and, you know, adjust. Sometimes it does funny things to the life bars, too.
Yeah. I mean, we saw that yesterday, that little glitch, a 70% reset that basically looked like a 70% combo.
Yeah, it did look like a lot of damage, way more than it was. But it's cool to see, like, one of my favorite things about this iteration of Mortal Kombat, going back from Mortal Kombat 11 or comparing it to Mortal Kombat 11, which is a very natural thing to do compared to the last game. I feel like we have characters that now feel complete.
Yes.
You know what I mean? I feel like if Reptile was in Mortal Kombat 11, which wasn't, thank God, you wouldn't see, you know, the full tool set being completely accessible.
Yeah.
And you'd have to, like, piece it together with the variation system. I love that we have full characters now, and we just have cameos to complement and to add on to already complete characters.
Yeah, I will say it was one of my personal frustrations with 11. Right, like, I obviously was a fan of it. I played it as much as I could, but variations were frustrating. I think for a lot of competitors, right? Like, we were bigger fans of having full toolkits. Even variations in MKX for some people were frustrating because they were like, I'm a big fan of these moves, but I just can't use them the way that I want. Customs was an interesting way to kind of try to give us that freedom, but you're still forcing me to make decisions that I'd rather not, right? Like, I'd rather the move not exist than have to learn about it and then live without it because I don't have space.
Yeah.
You know, whereas with this game, essentially, your variation is your cameo, right? And the freedom that you get with that, a subset of moves that you get to pick to complement your base game plan the way that you would like, I think is a lot more rewarding for a lot of players compared to, it feels more like having an addition rather than living without.
Yeah, and I also feel like there's more expression in that you can, you know, you're not forced to play the exact same way. You know, you can have the exact same moves as somebody else's Johnny Cage, but whether you're rocking them with Kung Lao or Stryker or any other, you know, more unique cameo choices, it's going to change it entirely, change it completely.
All right, we're going to get ready here to look at this next match on the docket right now. We saw these two competitors dominate 3-0 sweeps for both of them just a couple of minutes ago. Mike Metroid going to be running Johnny Stryker, Aztec, Raid, and Sector. Again, no surprise on the character picks. They've carried them thus far. And again, you noticed before, right? Mike a little more aggressive.
Sure.
Aztec a little more defensive.
Yes.
I imagine the pacing of this match is going to be dictated by that.
Oh yeah, Aztec going to be more willing to block, more willing to take throws, or at least try to react to throws rather than anticipate them.
Ooh,
Block. He's a ow.
And again, remember guys, so
That was first try.
Usually if you're dealing
was
with
first
Johnny
try.
Cage pressure, 2-1 is essentially the play it safe defensive option is going to be the fuzzy guard, right? I'm going to crouch block the low, stand the overhead. It takes care of both options. 2 up block, you have to make the read that 2-1-2 is coming out. You have to be preemptive.
I mean,
and Aztec just knew.
There have been people who have said that they can do a perfect sequence where they block the low, which is punishable, and then up block if that low doesn't come out. Now again, of course, Johnny Cage can also bait it if he just doesn't finish the straight.
Yes.
Or, you know, he does the low into something else. Uh-oh, hold on a second.
be
Mike
damaging.
Metroid, is he going to be taking this first round?
I remember this is pressure into striker. Oh, never mind the wake up.
Well,
The hidden sector,
I didn't
Mr. We were
see it.
talking about how he wasn't doing it before.
I didn't
Willing
see
to
it.
do it now. Yeah, you land that Superman, you summon sector. He is off screen. If you do not know.
Oh, striker coming in for the help. Big jump.
Oh, and it just comes down to the one exchange. Somebody, it was a game of chicken. Somebody had to press first.
Somebody had
Somebody
to
had
press.
to press.
And
And
it was
keep in
Mike-
mind, Mike Metroid has built up full hype. He's been taking advantage of Striker to cover his ability to access it, so he'll get very nasty converts if he can catch Aztec in a good situation.
Good punish here. Back-to-back punishes from Aztec. And Mike Metroid seeming completely unfazed by it, going for more unsafe stuff, more shadow kicks, just to keep him guessing, keep him thinking. And look at the confidence in that walk down as he knows those striker grenades are right behind him. That is plus, so he was ready to swing, and Aztec was ready to challenge.
Ooh.
Here comes the hype activation, the spotlight on the star of the movie right now, and Aztec doesn't want to be anywhere near him.
And I do think actually that Mike was trying to land a convert into hype combo before. That's why he was double stand 4ing in the corner, and the breaker came out right before he was going to be able to activate it, so he just decided to turn it into a nice little win condition. Let me chase you down a bit.
Uh-oh, here comes the homing missile. Good block there from Mike Metroid just in time. Tries to get a little cheeky. Down poke into the very unsafe uppercut. That's going to be a lot of damage, but is it going to be? Yeah, all she wrote, definitely.
And I will note too, yeah, because notice that he's got 900 health at base now because of Striker cameo, so it's a
Why are
difference
you
maker.
mashing? Come on, I mean, was it worth it? Mike
He
looks out of
believed.
breath. He looks out of breath.
Final round.
Listen, Mike is a button presser. I think if there's anybody that's well versed in being able to match, it's going to be him.
Yeah, he's got 900 health. 50 less because of Johnny Cage, and 50 more or less because of that striker cameo.
And listen, he's still been very victorious throughout most of his sets in spite of that.
No punish, he blocked the Superman, but it's one of those weird things. I feel like a lot of the unsafe things from Raiden, you have to
Be so
punish
on
him.
the money.
You have to punish them so specifically.
Yes,
whether
and
that's like dash up 1 or maybe your farther reaching buttons. Very, very tough deal.
Yeah, I think a lot of players go for like their 7 framer but forget to move and then just end up whipping, and then he's out of the situation now.
Exactly. Aztec
Ooh,
really
nice
testing
poke.
it. Whoa, whoa, whoa,
That
whoa,
is an
whoa.
interruptible string. I will note that a Raiden's cartwheel string works very similar. I have not seen that get interrupted yet.
Big punish, and this first game looks like going to Mike
Ooh.
Metroid, but he drops the end.
This can get scrambling. No, it manages to find it again. When is forward 3 ever incorrect? When is it ever wrong?
Round 1. Fight.
Aztec looking a little
Again.
shook right now, but going right into the rematch. Very uncomfortable situation. Those grenades were nowhere. Those grenades were not going to help him.
Yeah.
They were not going to help him, but he was so confident in walking down.
And the crowd getting a little hype behind Mike too. Which, for Aztec, you've got to try to ignore it too, right? Because it's going to build up Mike's confidence to continue his pressure.
He's feeding off the momentum, the actual IRL hype, if you will.
I mean, I will say, if you track his competitive history, there is something where if you can kind of have a very dominating round against Mike, you can discourage him a little bit. I've seen him crumple in situations like that before, but he's had such a successful run today. He has basically made everybody, you know, look like they're just not, like they just widened the skill gap between himself and the rest of the roster here on his winners run so far. It's going to be very hard to discourage him.
Oh, the tricky back 3, super punishable from all ranges here, especially if you've got some good long-reaching normals.
Oh, clips him with the low. And who knows again, right? That might be more of a telltale sign that Aztec was trying to preemptively read the up block because he got clipped by the low that he could potentially fuzzy.
Fight.
Trying to backdash, maintain distance here, get himself away. And notice how quick his movement changed, right? Summon Sector was about ready to go in up until Mike started doing wave dashes. Nice poke to get under the threat. They are annoying at distance, but they are all highs.
I love how Aztec was going a longer route just to kind of buy this time so easily. The nut punch cancel into the dash cancel, or the phase through, and Aztec had no choice but to go for the breaker to stop the momentum, to stop the hype in its tracks. Mike Metroid getting that back throw, kind of resetting the situation, stopping Sector from even coming out. I mean, I feel like that was almost reactive.
Oh, no!
No, what a drop against Mike Metroid, and Aztec taking full advantage of it. He does have access to that fatal blow, though. You're going to be seeing a potential parry or just some raw damage coming out if the right hit finds itself.
Right, it is one of those weird situations because, well, it was evened out now, but the life lead is so close that technically, if one player's at 31% and the other one's at 29, the one with a little less health sometimes has the advantage because of access to that move. That drop is going to be problematic. Finds the chip out sequence regardless.
Let me tell you.
That could have been so bad.
Let me tell you. I mean, the first drop, not so bad. That was not so bad, but the second time around, I was sweating bullets back here. I was just like, what? You're gonna drop that? You're gonna drop that? You're gonna drop that?
Oh, they are. I just saw somebody in the back say Tom Brady. They're getting very excited about the potential Sub-Zero pick. Serena going to be a decent call out here, right? Again, going to introduce a new element to the game the way we've mentioned before. We also saw Limbo Dog taking great advantage of the same team earlier in pools yesterday, right?
Yeah,
to deal with Johnny Cages. Almost got the 3-0 sweep over competitor using this.
Yeah, and the competitor making a crazy comeback. A lot of Sub-Zero players feel that Serena's the best cameo for them because she complements the overhead in a way that's like almost safe if you don't have a lot to deal with Serena. Obviously not going to be super safe against a character like Reptile.
Yeah.
But on top of that, it just kind of just adds on to just more good old-fashioned zoning that's just perfectly complemented with the controlling ice clone. The ice clone that just controls the pace. Mike Metroid using Johnny Cage. Johnny Cage does not have any projectiles.
No.
Does not have projectiles to really contest. So you're going to see Aztec running away this whole time. The down forward 4. Uh-oh.
I mean, if I was Aztec, I would make this combo as lengthy as possible to just start draining that hype meter.
That's definitely what he's doing right now. Ice clone, a little dive kick.
The patience with the cop bop. I do like that as an answer. And again, as you were saying, the pseudo non-committal back two.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, as long as it doesn't whiff, and it, as long as the Serena comes out, it's pretty much like, what are you gonna do about it? Yeah. You might get a poke, maybe one little special move hit, but you're not really risking too much.
And I will say, if I'm not mistaken, doesn't Johnny Cage have a weird ability to kind of just like parry himself through Ice Clone? I feel like I don't know how easy it is to do, but I do think he has the capability to do it.
So there was Aziz who puts out content on Twitter who says how to deal with, big shout out to Aziz, incredible lab monster, by the way, puts out content on how to deal with things and how all the different characters in this specific content, how all these different specific characters can deal with Ice Clone.
Yeah.
When he got to the Johnny Cage part, it looked like all he did was walk forward with Johnny Cage. But Mike says that it wasn't true. Like, he said, I don't believe
I've seen something,
Yeah, so like, I sometimes Aziz trolls with like quick little edits.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that was his way of saying Johnny Cage has no way of dealing with Ice Clone, or if he truly can just walk through it in certain
Well, I didn't know if, because, this
Punish.
is another one of those cases of just like through the grapevine thing. I thought he was just walking up and timing a wave dash like perfectly and being able to.
From what I remember, it was just a regular walk forward.
I've got to watch it again. And if that's meme potential, that's hysterical.
Use it. Use the tech. Just walk towards the Ice Clone.
All right, dive kick has an answer. That's going to be guaranteed pickup. And also notice that I just caught on to the fact that Mike has switched to Johnny Cage Serena, kind of like anything you can do, I can do.
Sure. I think it's more for. So like in that Serena range, you can't really Ice Clone if you think that he's gonna Ice Clone. Serena rangs are really good at
just
stopping
it out.
Yeah, stuffing it out, stopping the Ice Clone and just continuing. Did he block overhead? Yes, he did.
I have never
Easy
been
punish.
brought back to MK11 so fast in my life. Overhead straight into fatal blow. I don't think it's as strong as it was in that game, but it's definitely something you can go for.
The forward 2 is turned into the back 2.
Yeah, I do think the big difference maker is that this one's a lot longer in startup. Right, with the 24 frames of startup, and he's going to dive every single time Mike has tried to confirm into hype meter. As soon as Aztec has switched to Sub-Zero, he's not been able to really get anything off of it. He's going to wave away instead of trying to. Remember, he doesn't have access to Kombat to cover anymore.
I love the fake out from Mike Metroid. Not only just the fake out on purposely whiffing something and then throwing, but also just back throwing to, you know, get that escape fails. Oh, that is punishable, but it's very, very tight. You have to do your stand 1, and you don't have time to dash.
Yeah.
I believe it's only -12.
All right, nice here. Great deterrent, and again, just going to send ice clones out. Big punching animation through the ice clone. You know, the little more active ones that do some damage. He gets it that time.
And it looked like that time it was a stand 2. So
which I think is going to be better. It has a little bit more range than the stand 1.
A little bit more range and definitely leading into better damage.
Oh, this is going to be problematic.
They're 100% mashing right now.
Here it
Look
matters.
at Mike Metroid. Look at him mashing. He's mashing those buttons.
I hope he's mashing.
Win. He wants his victory, and Aztec wants to stay alive. He's mashing for his life. 515 damage.
Yes for game. So Arena to try to increase the chip out. He's marching down. I'd be very cautious if I was him doing that. Oh, the tech. Okay. Looking for it again. No punish. The
down 1. The down 1 from Mike Metroid. Are we going to get? Yes, we are.
Oh, it's him, of course.
A brand new
the greatest showman.
car. A brand new car. Just for his buddy Aztec. You can tell Aztec's a little...
He's a little frustrated, but he's not out of the race yet.
No?
And I will say, sometimes a frustrated Aztec is a lot scarier. It's crazy, too. You know what's interesting? Mike Metroid put the glasses on. You can't use Johnny Cage moves if you're not wearing it as a cosmetic.
You need it. You need the glasses.
So, yeah, he might have just powered himself up in Grand Finals if he puts them back on. It's just to access some more of his toolkit.
He's ready. He's ready. Waiting on the winner's side of Grand Finals. Mike Metroid.
Yeah.
What a run. What a run, but it's not over. So far, guaranteed second place.
Yes.
But I definitely think he wants that.
Aztec guaranteed no less than third.
Yes.
So we at least know what some combination of our top 3 are going to be.
Yes, yes, yes. And look, man, when you make it this far, getting anything short of a victory is definitely not going to feel good.
Yeah.
When you make it this far all the way to Grand Finals, you're like, I need this. And he's got 2 sets to play with.
Yes, I do imagine Aztec's goal now, right, is going to be to get that run back. And he had a lot closer of a set with the Sub-Zero pick, so now he'll be able to entertain it now from jump, and maybe that'll be the difference maker because he wouldn't have given up so many games trying out Raiden Sector.
Yeah.
There is also going to be the pressure of the fact that if he does manage to get through Losers Finals and earn that run back, he'll have to do it twice. And that gives Mike more time to adjust too, which it seems like he already was doing closer to the end of the set.
He was. And you got to really give it up to someone confident enough to switch cameos altogether. And it was the right answer. And like I said, there's a lot of those weird little spots with Sub-Zero when, you know, and you could see that Aztec, the second time around, when that Sereno cameo was active, you don't really want to just throw Ice Clone out in the neutral when you think a Rang might come through, because it eats through it, goes past it, and brings you back for potentially a full combo, because you have a lot of recovery when you go into the ice, when you're coming out of putting on an ice clone.
Yeah.
Because you turn into an ice clone. It was you. So let's get...
All right, we're going to get ready to get back into the action here. I do believe this is game
time.
time.
This is it.
This is going to be Cosner versus Wraith. Now, the fun part about this is these are 2 character specialists right now. I know Cosner is considering looking into Quan Chi when he comes out, but since the game has been launched, Wraith has not changed off of Shang. Cosner has not changed off of Reptile. So these are going to be 2 fellas that are specialists, comfortable in their environment, working out a matchup.
Can I just talk about the restraint that Wraith just showed there? Waiting for, because a lot of people like to just mash while he's teleporting away from you, but Wraith waited specifically for the time that Kung Lao armor was no longer active.
Yes. He's had a lot of practice with it. It's the Amber said, that the easiest answer to is to give it that extra second, right? As you mentioned, people like to answer too fast and then they end up getting punishable. We saw Cosner take advantage of that in sets before versus Poseidon. I think Wraith's knowledgeable about how wonky that can get. Is not going to want to take the chance, right? As much as he can guarantee sequences that he's familiar with, he's going to go for them.
Goro to keep it nice and safe. Cosner didn't even bite, and that was a little bit of bait on his own there, doing the death row right in front of him and just holding on to the Lao just for a little bit to hopefully get some super plus frames.
And so the Goro pickup guaranteed. You cannot break that final hit. He didn't have the meter to do so, but even if he did, the second he got sent across the screen, if you would have built it by projectile time, it wouldn't have made a difference.
That Goro complements that Shang wake up so well.
There's a couple in the game that do it, but I think he's the best one for that one specifically. He's very consistent. And notice in some situations too, right, we mentioned how long Goro cooldown is. Wraith going to opt not always to do it as long as the hit is guaranteed, because you want to just have more access to Goro when you need him. That protection is very important. If you get too dedicated to combo confirms, what a drop
Yeah, big drop, and that was definitely Cosner wanting to break as soon as possible, and Wraith just kind of crumbling under the pressure a little bit, but for the most part in the driver's seat here. Easy chip out, no bar left for another last breath mechanic. And the flawless block did not become active. That was going to be the only thing that was going to save Cosner in that situation.
Yeah, and I will say personally, I think most Reptile mains would agree that this is a very uncomfortable matchup for him with Shang, right? Usually the easiest way to dictate that is Reptile forced to chase you? Probably not his favorite. Shang's going to do a great job of that, but one of the more slept-on deterrents that Shang has access to, his down 3, his down 4, like his pokes, right? They do a great job at stuffing Reptile, trying to shimmy away from you, and kind of meeting his back 3 when he's trying to catch up to you. Does a better job of contesting it, so his go-to button doesn't work as well, you know, as long as the fact that his win condition is a lot harder to access. That perfectly timed. Listen,
what did I tell you?
You said jump over it. You said jump over it.
He can't complain about force balls if he can just jump over them.
And then, yeah, perfect reaction. That is going to be very hard at distance. So there's 3 big things, right? The fact that you have to chase him, the fact that his down pokes kind of stuff out a lot of your more flowchart autopilot offense with Reptile, and better spikes at distance, right? You can't really jump over Shank's projectiles because you'll land on it. You can't chase him with dash because you'll run into it. It's not always the easiest thing to punish. If he EXs it, it's damn near impossible, you know? And then, of course, even with the inclusion of Goro, when you can punish it, Goro prevents you from doing that anyway.
Yeah, Goro just kind of stops you. You gotta, like, you have to bait it out multiple times.
Lao Hat was actually past him. I think he hesitated for a second. Waiting again.
Yeah, this time, a little bit better time. The last time, Cosner kind of got the better of that situation by going into the jump kick.
Try to use Goro for chip out, but yeah, it's awkward at full range to do it.
Tons of damage, tons of chip. Like, the last breath mechanic wasn't going to be enough there. And look at the focus on Wraith, because he knows he's got a lot of players to go through.
He's got a lot of players,
good players to go through.
I mean, listen, we know what those at least 2 players that are guaranteed top 3 are consisting of. You've got to be ready for them. I will say, too, if some people are curious why Cosner continues to go for the ambush strategy, right? Like we've mentioned before, what happens on the positive end of it. But even if you make a bad call, right? Reptile's trying to slide under a projectile is very important in this matchup. You have to risk it at some point. If you're wrong and you get blocked, and you're still guaranteed to get punished, the amount of damage you will take coming out of the ambush compared to what you'll take if you just stay on the floor and don't spend the cameo is a lot less. So it's essentially you don't get out of jail for free, but you basically get to cut the punish in half, which can be helpful. And Lao recharges so fast, it's not necessarily the same cooldown game you have to be concerned about with Goro. You'll have him back by your next sequence.
Cosner finding a nice combo in the corner here.
Invisibility setup. Immediately gets challenged.
Yeah, because, you know, even if you just are forced to block something, that invisibility goes away. So that's a right call there by Wraith. Not a right call to try to poke underneath that bubble and that Reptile force ball, setting him up. And Cosner finally showing signs of life here.
Yeah, just a little bit. That heart's unblockable, too well timed. Remember, that is going to bring in unblockable protection if they're too close together. No ability to pick up there. I thought for a second, but he came out of Skulls too late. See, one of the things I like about Cosner's invisibility setup also, nice ability to cover.
Can we just talk about that low overhead block? He easily blocked that unblockable here from Cosner, and I think it's just out of experience having to deal with this cameo so much throughout this game's competitive life.
Yeah, well, I will say too, right, one of the big things about the Hearts of Blockable, what makes it so difficult, the way that most characters would do it naturally is that when you jump, you lose the ability to visually track the low hat, right?
Yes.
So you actually have to guess on the mix. When the screen is more grounded, there is a tried and true tactic to kind of just watching when the Lao hat gets to you and just making sure you tap down when it gets close.
Yeah, just you initially or, you know, naturally block high and then just watch out for the low hat, hold down. Gets the combo.
The answer, this is going to be damaging too.
Is he going to use his fatal blow?
I'm curious if he believes it. No, he's going to try to reset a situation. Wraith has had incredible patience too, right? Because one of the best things about that setup, he snipes him out of invisibility, perfect armored response. When Reptile does that invisibility setup into Lao Hat, if you let it rock, right? A lot of players reactively like jumping to get away from Lao Hat. They'll end up jumping right on top of it. And giving you a free combo confirmed. Wraith has not been taking the bait.
Another great successful block there by Wraith. The low and the overhead block, no problem at different timings here. Goro popping you up for some good damage. Shang Tsung continuing the volley, the one-man volleyball game here.
Oh, wrong version of Goro, but still able to flawless block and misses the punish. That's where the amount of sequences we go through sometimes in the span of 3 seconds.
All those different little sounds, all these different opportunities, just so easy to drop it on a stage like this. I'm surprised Cosner didn't let the hat rock after he got hit in the face with some skulls, just to kind of get a little bit more pressure and momentum on his side.
Yeah, still has a bit of a life lead. Listen, I've seen Cosner make reverse 3-0s before. That is going to get so much startup. And mostly important, excuse me, because he can afford to take the damage, right? You got to remember, if you go for that fatal blow answer, and you don't have the life to live through the force ball, it'd be a dead scenario anyway, but he recognized that he could afford to take it. And this is going to be really probably, this is way scarier for Reptile than this is for Sheng here.
Oh, yeah.
He gets timed.
Straight skulls, and what a clutch situation. You could just see the relief pouring off of Wraith as he just like finally got through there. That was a tough one. And, you know, even though the set number doesn't really tell the full story of how close that was, that last game could have gone either way. So big shout outs to Cosner for making an incredible run here, getting 4th place at NEC out of so many competitors after a long weekend of competing, not just here, but Cosner also competed last night in the Coliseum finale. So big shout outs to Mr. Aqua, who I believe is running the remainder of the finale after this broadcast.
Yes.
So if you guys don't want to stop with the MK1 action here, definitely go over there because it's going to be incredible. A lot of great players. But the point was, Cosner went from qualifying here for top 8 in NEC. I'm sorry, qualifying for top 16, then going back home to play in the Coliseum finale. Unfortunately, didn't do super well, but hey, was still a finalist in one of the sweatiest online tournament series that there is for Mortal Kombat. And then
ran back here.
Yeah, ran back here to qualify for top 8. And then came back again on Sunday to play out in this top 8.
And keep in mind, was on winner's side for the first half of it.
Yes, he was.
We say a lot of the time, usually, that the score from sets wasn't really reflective of how close they were. I do think, like you mentioned before, this was one of those situations where Wraith's face told the whole story. So at least you guys can understand that he was stressed throughout it, even though he got a 3-0. And now this is going to be a fun one too, right? I think this is going to be the first matchup that we've seen throughout all of the competitors tonight where the base strategy from both of them is going to be a little more on the defensive side.
Yeah, Wraith doesn't go crazy for throws. Neither does Aztec.
So there's going to be a lot of jockeying for position. I think the first game is going to be a big feeling out process of how to manage neutral between the two of them. And these are not two competitors that run into each other often, so this is very, very important for them to collect as much information as they can in the early bits of these losers finals.
Yeah, and in this situation too, both these players down to their last tournament life in this double elimination tournament, so we don't have more than 5 games to play with.
All right, gonna go for the more strategy, and now keep in mind too, here's the thing. This is a great benefit of the fact that he runs Goro in this shell, because now not only will he be able to run the Storm Cell strategy, he's gonna be more damaging on top of that. And Goro is a cameo that you can
stopped him! I'm so sorry,
No,
Kevin,
it's okay. No, we're both excited.
But that was insane. I didn't even see the missile being summoned. Going for a ride here, pretty much tied up and not able to outpoke him, even though he's definitely negative after that.
Oh!
Goro, who got hit?
In a weird way, didn't have to hold the sequence. He's going to spend the breaker. He believes. I hope he makes the right decision here, because that is a lot of resources to invest into this.
I mean, he's got Sector on his back, but the missile didn't go in the right spot.
Into Storm Cell. Okay, so I do believe that his game plan was to figure out how to close the gap in that situation, just get him to block Storm Cell, right? Just come in with the idea of it's a lot easier to get him to block this than it is going to be for him to guarantee a hit on me.
Tons of chip. Tons of chip if you are Raiden, yes.
All right, nice poke at distance. Oh, tried to armor through, but it's multi-hitting. I would always recommend the universal answer being down 1. It's the most consistent you can get. Yeah, if you up block, it doesn't even change anything.
It's exactly, because of that second hit that comes afterwards.
All right, poke at the Storm Cell here. And it's an interesting thing too, right? Because Sector Missile doesn't necessarily cover that the same way like other cameos like Kano or even Goro, which we might see from Wraith if he decides to switch into it again would. But it does kind of like encourage them to stay still. Gonna hold it again. Yeah.
There's that gap that you were talking about too. Not really getting exposed, because what a lot of Raidens like to do is they don't like to finish it and instead stop it halfway through and then go for the low afterwards.
Yes, I do think though, even like as frustrating as that can be, it's very important to work them through that layer first, right? It at least shuts off a certain amount of their game plan. They have to actively think about it every time.
You gotta train them to be scared of it.
Yes. And again, if they stop and go into another move, that bit of hesitation might buy you an opportunity. Speaking of opportunities, here's one for Aztec. It's going to be giant damage plus corner carry here, guaranteed into Sector Missile. Hold this next bit of pressure.
And he does successfully here, fighting his way out. Does get the amplified up.
Here we go. Yeah, he's going to be taking a ride for a while, ladies and gentlemen. Count him. Oh, drops the convert. I think he wanted that into better spike for advantage.
That was bait. That was bait. He wanted him to swing afterwards, and he did perfectly in time to meet this knee. Goro keeping it nice and safe, but the second part not safe. Goro for one last time, of course, at the cost of 3 bars for the breaker.
Calls it out, but the Sector Missile, yeah, was definitely noticeable that time. This is helpful. This is going to be problematic. So Aztec could be encouraged to try to approach the teleport. Didn't get the opportunity, but had he, I think Wraith was sitting around waiting for that little flash of lightning to just go ahead and start using his non-directional normals.
I think Aztec got a little disrespectful there too at the end. Getting hit with that down 4, you don't want to press anything afterwards. You don't want to move, and it was just a nice simple check from Wraith. Wraith keeping it pretty much textbook here in this situation. Nothing too crazy.
I mean, again, we were talking about before how these are 2 players that are going to look to mitigate risk every time that they can, right? If they have a technical guarantee, more often than not, you can assume they'll go for it. There is a bit of a strategy to kind of going for that surprise factor on them, right? You want to walk that silver lining of being fundamentally sound enough to earn respect and then using that respect to disrespect.
Punish right here and coming out of Wraith. And of course, Aztec, he was ready. He was ready. He was ready. Ready to finish this combo here in the corner as well. Stabbing him and throwing him into the ground on the corner. Nowhere for you to go. Here comes Goro's big forearms. And Shang Tsung just backing off, waiting for Aztec to make the bad decision here. But he timed that teleport perfectly with that missile.
All right, here's going to go. Wraith again. Just trying to manage distance here. Going to hold it again. Just does not want to take the chance. I don't know
why take the chance. Why? You have so much life lead.
I think he's more comfortable armoring out when he wants to use specific things. And once he realized that the multi-hit was not going to give him access to that, at this point, he's like, you know what? Let's just play it safe, right? Even if I miss time a down 1, I don't want a chance getting... Like, I don't think he's unaware of the fact that you can answer it with a poke. I think he's unwilling to take the risk.
Yeah, he said, I'll just hold this. I'll hold it. And I think it's more of like the armor will get through both the stagger into the low and the completion of that specific string.
Ooh,
or at least he thought in theory.
And again, we're going to go into this forward pressure. This is the thing that Wraith likes to do that you have to be a little dialed in on, right? Working out chip, especially against a character like Wraith, we mentioned before, has that passive where he mitigates it, right? Wraith likes to open up 2 opportunities for it by using 3 hits of that forward 4 string, staggering, knowing that they're going to sit there, and then doing it again just to add that little bit of extra pressure to it. And for all you know, maybe he gets a hit confirm out of it, right? That's one of those strings that Shang gets 8 hours to hit confirm.
That's true. That's true.
The only opening within it is that 1 stagger. You've got to recognize that he does that and then call it out.
Oh boy, the neutral jump kick, and he goes for the throw. The right choice from Aztec to do anything but just sit there and block, whether you're holding down or holding up. Both of them work against throws, no problem. The missile messed up his combo, but he was ready to swing afterwards and finds it again. Aztec getting a little too crazy, deciding to let go of block in these bad situations.
And then it's hard too because Aztec also has not been extremely willing to use his amplified Superman. I haven't seen it in a lot of situations. He could try to call out some gaps, right? He could try to, again, push at distance, and it's another way that you can hide that Sector Missile like we've seen before, but I just don't think he feels like spending the resources on it when he gets that meter back. And that's the problem, right? Radiant has such a great projectile against characters who allow him the time where he's afforded to charge it up for that multi-hitting one that can be mitigated by flawless blocking, but Shang not going to let him have it. Here's a big confirm from Aztec.
Yeah, no Goro to keep you safe in that situation. Wasn't ready to build back up quite yet. This time, though, Goro keeping it safe, but getting kicked in the shins for his troubles. The forward throw. Now, it wasn't a failed escape. It was actually a throw counter. He threw a possibly, most likely, a poke or a challenge.
Oh, Wraith again here, going to try to make this as guaranteed as he can. You got to be careful if you're Aztec. Do not afford him a turn. He's going to get one there, and that's, yeah. The second he's able to move, that was going to be problematic.
It's a little crazy there in that scramble because that move totally unsafe.
Yes.
Wraith missed the punish on that, and Aztec in that scramble, in that back and forth, wasn't strong in sensing that. All he had to do was block that low. He would have gotten a last breath situation if it was enough to chip him out, but he just kind of let that little opportunity slip in between his fingers.
Yeah, I mean, it's understandable too, right? It's hard to be in a panic situation, especially when you're this far in bracket and not get into your own head about your decisions, right?
Oh, yeah.
There's no harder 50-50 than a guess for game.
No harder.
Here's the Goro conversion I was telling you about to get into more.
Oh my gosh, this is so much damage. Nearly 40% here. And here comes Goro, the forward throw. And of course, that nice little boost. Not too much, but you know, goes from 110 to 112.
It's interesting that he was backing off too, because again, right, one of the benefits of running Goro Shell is that he can actually take advantage of Raiden's own chip strategy against him, using Goro to cover the opportunity where you would get punished. And in both situations, when he's been provided the time to do it, he has not gone for it. Here's the scoop!
Everybody gets hit by that. No exceptions here.
Listen, Goro's a big spoon. Here's a beautiful retort with forward 4. This is going to be guaranteed kill.
The side switch too, Kevin. I mean,
Got
can you
better
look at that? Look at the positioning, pushing him closer and closer to the corner. Wraith on match point right here. Game number 3 has a lot of wiggle room, but I don't think he wants to give Aztec anything.
No, yeah, why take the chance?
Why take the chance?
He's gonna zone a distance here. I mean, even it's the little things, right? Like you mentioned before, with the side switch, with the end game combo. It's the situational awareness of the smaller details that help these players clear out brackets. Again, that throw gonna get interrupted.
It's so funny how like when Shang gets hit, Gorf was like, "Oh no,
yeah,
my master," and he just like leaves. He had him, Goro. You were holding him.
It's a perfect rewinded animation of the way that he got there in the first place. That's a weird interaction.
That looks so funny. It looked like Raiden got hit by his own. Uh-oh, down 4. Yeah, don't want to disrespect down 4 from Aztec. He will jail you and challenge you every single time. Here comes the missile. Good blocks here from Wraith.
Perfect counter. Wraith has not been afraid to disrespect in some situations. Going to get shoved out at distance here.
I feel like that breaker was a little too late into the combo, Kevin. I mean, again...
Sometimes when you've taken all that damage, you've already taken it.
I'm going to chalk that one up to an emotional breaker.
For all we know.
We know.
I mean, it depends. Some people, even though they are basically have taken that damage, sometimes they feel like it's a momentum shift, but this is going to be problematic now because now this is guaranteed. Did not use the Goro call out into conversion would have been guaranteed, but I think he wants to take the simpler chip out strategy. Wraith with a great showing, and ladies and gentlemen, don't look at me, Wraith. We have our grand finals match set up between Mike Metroid and Wraith MK.
Now Wraith, interesting. I'm going to say interesting fact about Wraith here and his specific tournament run. Wraith lost in winners in pools to someone who did not qualify for top 8.
Yes.
And so even though he's in this position where, you know, he had to go through Mike Metroid calling out the goons. I don't know if you can hear it at all, but Mike Metroid said there should be some goons on this stage, calling out a little bit of the lack of, I'll say the lack of attendance from a certain group of friends.
I mean, yeah, it's been noticeable here, right? I'm sure they're sitting at home, you know, convinced that they would have had great placements in this bracket had they come out. But now for the remainder of history in 2023, they weren't here. So
we're not here.
For all we know, this is the the grand finals we would have had regardless.
This is the grand finals I'm seeing right now. This is the grand finals I'm getting ready to commentate. I don't think Wraith is in. I mean, he's definitely got a tough order in front of him.
Yeah.
Tall order. But I think he's feeling good about it. Good about the fact that he has not fought Mike Metroid before. So I think he knows that he could potentially be under Mike Metroid's skin just a little bit.
Yeah, I also know with competitors like this, like Wraith is another Kombat League demon. If you are going to sit around the Kombat League pool, there is no way that you have not run into 400 Johnny Cage players, so you know what your answers are to this matchup. And I do think Shang is one of the characters, similar to like the way we were mentioning Reptile before, right? Not necessarily caught up to where Johnny is on the tier list, but doesn't have the most uncomfortable time working out a game plan against them, right? They're both distance management, right?
Yeah.
Johnny still has to get to you at some point, and usually that's dictated by life lead, right? An opponent's only forced to chase you if they have less life than you. Remember with Mike Metroid's shell, he is starting off at a base health of 900. So at match start, he is already at disadvantage and forced to chase. Even though Wraith himself is sitting at 950.
Yeah, no, I mean, it does, I feel like on paper it should mess with you mentally, but the fact that the life bars look almost the same, maybe you just never realize that you're not actually at 100% health.
Yeah. All right, here we go. Nice pickup. We're going to switch into Johnny. This is such a great switch to do too, right? Because how much more guaranteed? Oh, you know, unless you want to get a little saucy on him.
I don't know if that was saucy or maybe an input error.
Potentially, right? I think there's no way we didn't want to just keep pushing the pace there and drowning him in his own frame data.
Interesting choice there to go for a throw. I mean, he didn't get the better of that exchange, but I don't know, maybe he was hoping that he would be out of the way of that grenade. Big rising uppercut here coming from Mike Metroid as he gets a little flashy here for the crowd.
You know, as per the norm, par for the course, gets the pick up. Try to keep in mind, too, again, ladies and gentlemen, because this is grand finals, the pressure is on Wraith to not only beat Mike Metroid, but beat him twice. Mike only has to ascertain victory once in a match that he's already technically up on, though it's early.
Yeah, definitely up around, but
don't count Wraith out yet.
Don't count
Look at the
him out.
comeback we've seen from him earlier today in practice.
Wraith not really making those adjustments for the striker cameo. Those sirens light up, and you hear the cops coming. Yeah. You better chill out with that punish, or make it a very specific one that you know is going to work.
And one of the better aspects of this toolkit for Johnny Cage, the fact that he can just with full vote of confidence use that glasses taunt straight into striker protect and take no risk. Oh, again, punishable. We didn't see an answer.
Did not see an answer. Instead, we saw a knee to the gut, and Mike Metroid one game closer for securing this victory.
Now, I'll be honest, too, animation-wise, we're prepared to see a lot of knees to the guts on both sides, right? Mike's Metroid's main tool of offense is going to be that forward 3, like 9-framer, leads into safe pressure. Wraith has that forward 4 in old form of Shang. That leads into a very lengthy and well-protected string with the usage of Goro. So knees to the guts are going to be a big visual.
Ooh, overhead, but actually wasn't able to really get anything out of there because he was so scared that he was going to dash out of that parry animation. Just kind of wanted to wait and see.
All right, again, a little bit of a life lead. Nice challenge there. I imagine that was going to be. No, well, maybe he picked out Goro to protect in case he was one, right? I'm thinking of young version of Shang for full combo confirm. And usually the way that he goes for confirm with that, I usually like that option better because of the little bit of added chip. But I guess if you're stuck and you don't have time to phase that, is a second best option. Mike Metroid now getting these extensions. That striker provides Johnny Cage. Nice answer again from Wraith. It's a combo confirmed. Going to spend the bar. This is a giant scaling combo. I have actually seen situations. He did it yesterday in pools, right? Sometimes it scales so bad, the only way they can confirm the kill when there's like 5% of health left is to do fatal blow. It actually gets that bad.
That's a tall order. That is a huge resource to give up, but if that's going to secure the victory, totally worth it.
Sometimes, yeah.
Good challenge of the stagger here, but Mike Metroid with a challenge of his own. The stand 2 doing a ton here, almost like he's playing Mortal Kombat 9.
Yeah. I will say too, right, we've identified that Wraith has a very good strategy of kind of like shimmying people with the dominant walk down. You're going to want to be a little more careful doing that against Johnny.
Yeah, you're putting yourself in huge danger zone.
Oh!
Huge danger zone here.
That is the problem with the dial in.
Finally gets his hands on you. Nut punch here, throwing the glasses. You got to hold this striker, hold these sunglasses, and some more striker. Completely out of that cameo bar. So this is Wraith's opportunity to make sure that any risk is actually worth it. No.
He happened to be standing. You talked about before how that's the answer to Goro. He's going to get him to whiff.
Yeah, and the other thing too is that baited, but that actually wasn't a punish. It wasn't a punish, it looks like. It might have been just a little too late there.
Well, sometimes I think there's a surprising amount of speed of recovery in which tapping up block has compared to holding it, which is what most people are going to do when they're making that read.
Oh, the sweep as he's trying to get out. Here comes a very expensive nut punch here. Doesn't really get a full combo, but does get the momentum and does get the side switch from that back throw.
And Wraith still sitting on meter advantage. Johnny Cage is not really one of those characters that's going to give you access to unbreakable routes in this game the way that Shang is, and this is looking close to one. Going to morph into him, try to get a guaranteed chip game going. He finds it in the 2-1 mix.
Doesn't feel good.
Does not feel good.
Getting your own stuff used on you does not feel good. Wraith looks like he's on, I'm sorry, but Wraith looks like he's on the verge of just passing out.
Listen, lost sequences because of dialed in, but is winning because he's choosing to mentally stay dialed in.
He's here.
Right, and you see it in his face every single time we point the camera back on him. He's thinking about nothing else in victory right now, right?
Let me tell you, man, he wants this win so bad, and he's
for every tournament he enters.
I mean, sure.
Yeah, you know, but this is obviously like a bigger path here, right? This is going to be a more meaningful one than like taking like a Friday bracket online.
Sure. I mean, look, Wraith almost didn't come this weekend. The only reason he came is because I said, I've got room in our hotel room with me and Tiza.
Yes.
Come through, and he said, okay, awesome.
And I'm sure he's so happy that he made that decision now.
He's definitely happy about it.
All right, here's the answer again. Going to set Johnny Cage at distance. One of the better parts about that armored wake-up hitting is the fact that it resets Shang's game plan again, right? Send him to the other side of the coast. Make him do it all over again. No anti-air. He's been willing to challenge with stand 4 before, right? It's a strong one for Shang. But I just think, again, Johnny's jumping is so good.
The back 3.
Oh,
4 back 3s, 5 back 3s, and here comes Serena.
He did that for the audience.
He is draining away. That Serena was there literally like the entire time.
Yeah.
Till right before. That's going to be a punish.
Oh, there's the answer.
He's got the fatal blow. He's got the fatal blow, and we're letting it rock.
This is lesser health. They're going to mash here, but I'm pretty sure this is guaranteed round for Mike.
Can we get the camera? Look at Mike.
Mike, and it's the ultimate. I'm telling you, listen, ladies and gentlemen, if you want good buttons for your for your arcade style controllers, you might want to hit up Mike Metroid because his has to be durable.
Or if you guys have the best buttons to mash, hit up Mike Metroid. He needs them.
Yeah, he might be in the market pretty soon.
These are unmashable buttons. Oh gosh, he's going for a ride. Is this easier to hit him now that the spotlight is on him, so he always knows
so
where
it's
he
noticeable. It might be beneficial if you take him to like a darker stage, you know, like hanging gardens at night. You might need a spotlight to track him. He is wearing some pretty dark colors.
I don't. Sometimes when I see Shangs like do that combo, I'm like, how do they know exactly where they're gonna be?
It's weird. It always seems like the gravity is different, but they never miss the timing.
I mean, Wraith definitely doesn't.
All right, nice duck at distance. Again, the inclusion of Serena going to add a little bit more of a deterrent and neutral here, something that Wraith is going to have to consider. Johnny also a character that can get pretty strong damage routes off of it. No slouch to Serena confirms. Decent trade. And again, that's part of the reason that Shanks don't mind this matchup so much.
Oh boy.
Here we go, but look how much each projectile scaling, right? It does essentially 0.05 damage.
He doesn't have the fatal blow this time around though to really cash in, so he's just looking for another opportunity. 1 or 2 more openings for Mike Metroid should get him this victory here.
This is getting treacherous now. This is down to one bad decision for anybody. And Wraith doesn't have the meter to go for his armor to wake up. I'm sure we would have seen it already, right? The guarantee into Goro.
He just threw him. 7 seconds
Got
left.
to do it one more time in the 4-3. And that's the problem. Let's say Wraith had gotten the meter at that point and chosen. Well, he got the bar, but chosen suspended or armor to down forward 2. He wouldn't have been able to take the 4-3 anyway.
No, definitely couldn't in that situation. What a game, man. What a game down to the wire here. I mean, it was just so much pressure on him. And it was just that little bit of life just chipping away at him little by little.
Little by little. And Wraith, again, trying to find those little bits of situations that he can to adjust here and shut down a lot of this Mike Metroid pressure, right? He's been successful with it in the past. Serena is a new introduction to the matchup. Mike has used it on stream before, but this is the second time he's using it against Wraith, against 2 competitors who I'm not sure, like you said, if they've ever even played before. And now there's this arena drain.
He's being so respectful of those plus frames, but now Wraith deciding, no way, I'm not just going to sit here and hold it. I've got Goro, I can poke back, I can down 1 armor, some options, but Mike could be sniffing him out just perfectly.
Definitely a frustrating character to deal with on defense, but you cannot let it get you to the point where you just turtle up and hesitate, right? At some point, you do have to answer back. I know competitors get worried about it, right? Because they're just like, oh, and then by the time I finally press, he calls it out. But you do have to press at some point, and you are going to continue to take chip until you make that decision. Sometimes sooner than later. If you're wrong, it's better to know now than take 8 extra % of chip and then find out the same resolution.
Yeah, could be. Could be. It's all just pretty much a anticipation game here.
Nice here, and Wraith just can't seem to get through a round without finding himself in this corner. Oh, that low was so close to connecting.
Oh, challenging with that down 1 as Wraith is trying to just fight back with some standing buttons of his own. Goro to kind of keep it more on the safe side, but you know, you gotta wonder, it takes so long for it to come back. That parry doing so much work here for Mike Metroid, throwing him back in the corner. There's only 10 seconds left on the clock. Wraith has to make something happen right here, right now. And he does with the Goro scoop.
No, he drops
it! He drops it!
That was the confirm. He can't do anything now. That was the round. He found it. Mike was not going to have the meter. He just needed to do the right version of ground skull. He got the wrong one.
And I don't know, maybe he thought he was like not as close to the corner.
You do have to adjust it depending, right? Down forward instead of down back if you're farther away, down back if you're closer.
Oh, a drop here from Wraith. I don't know if that was because the Serena was on screen. Maybe it kind of messed with the timing of his forward dash. You know, you see a lot of funny things like that when there's so many things happening.
All right, it's going to be a last-ditch effort from Wraith, right? Mike Metroid is sitting on match point about as close as he can be. Wraith has gotten rounds in here before, so it's not impossible for him to do it again. He does have a life lead. He is controlling the pacing.
I was going to say, he wasn't trying to press anything and then gets opened up by that back 3.
Like we said before, the one time you do. Goro to protect. What's the next game plan? Immediately disengages. Nice, right? It's again, you have to not let Johnny Cage make you hesitate from your game plan. Sometimes the anti-air is the answer. Get the damage where you can. Mike is also so close to hype meter if he finds one more spot to get it into. Even if he doesn't make it through this round, which might be likely,
yeah,
he can get very dangerous in the next one.
Looks very likely. Good flawless block.
Whoa!
What?
There's
You just
absolutely
dashed
no
through that?
way.
You just dashed through all those skulls?
The confidence you need to have, and now I'm not necessarily confident that Wraith is able to do it, but thankfully for him, the wake up there and Mike acknowledging the good call, right? It does go deceptively far. We're still on match point for Mike Metroid.
Still on match point, tournament point here in this grand finals. Mike Metroid sitting comfortably on the winner's side, finds the opening. A nice flashy combo to continue here. This Johnny pressure, Serena to drain that meter as you're sitting here guessing for your life. When do I poke back? You poke back at the right situation, and Goro buying him a little bit more real estate, a little bit more breathing room as those spikes just perfectly stop Johnny Cage's pressure here.
Oh, and he spent the bar on that chance at a hit confirm, which means now he's going to be in this corner situation again without access to it. And it's already hard to find the opportunity to use the armor to get out because remember, Mike has readjusted the strategy to meter drain him, so he never has it.
Oh, the sweep. Watch your feet. Here comes the big knees. Lots of pressure. The down one goes unpunished from Mike Metroid, but he says, I want to take my turn instead. No throws from either of these guys, but he thought maybe it was coming that time. Oh boy, he's going for a ride. He's going to have breaker right here if he touches him again.
Yep.
And there it is. No bar left. Wraith has to make one connection, one throw. Anything will do it here. Less than 10% left. Oh, this last thing didn't hit, but the down poke finds it, and taking this first set to a very uncomfortable place for Mike Metroid. He was one round away from securing the win, and he knows how delicate, how fragile this opportunity could be for him.
The amount of carbon dioxide that just left my body. The second that I saw that situation, he's working himself into the potential of a grand finals reset close to. Mike did hover over Motaro for a half second. He's been a big fan of that shell online, but he posts about it a bunch. I don't know how the utility of Motaro is going to help here, trying to teleport around Shang, or the conversions that it gives him, the kind of like pressure resets that he'll get. And we'll be curious to see if he ends up on loser's side with a Wraith victory, if we'll end up seeing it, right? One of the benefits of being on winner's side is that extra time to experiment.
Yeah, and it looks like he ditched Serena altogether.
So get back home
with Striker. Back home with Striker, his tried and true main.
And again, right, Serena doing a good job of kind of like getting Shang to stay still, but Striker potentially going to do a better one of just forcing him to not punish anything. That looked like a potential tap at up block attempt.
Oh, the pressure. You think it's your turn to block, but you get opened up by this nice little easy throw. Down one to punish whatever Mike Metroid was pressing there as Wraith. I love the way Wraith uses that sweep. Like max distance, all the right timings. He'll even get you like trying to jump in on it.
Yeah.
And it's so quick.
And then use it as an actual trip guard.
Mike's throwing a lot right now, let me tell you. And you know, you see this tendency a lot coming in these do or die situations where you say, I haven't really been throwing a lot in this set, but you can't get too predictable.
Oh no, he didn't get the Goro call out. That could have been round secured for him. Again, you do have to do it a little ahead of time, so the fact that he wasn't ready to do it off rip because he wasn't sure was a difference maker.
Oh boy. The throw! Doing so much work for Mike Metroid. I want to say that was 3 or 4 throws in that round alone. Now keep in mind, one of them did get blown up, but the rest of that, purely successful hits.
And I'll be real, the one that did get blown up didn't get blown up hard enough even.
That's true, that's true. Not really that much damage. Oh, trying to challenge on those plus frames. I believe all those, I want to say the overhead and the low are both plus for the sector summoning cameo moves.
Okay,
I'm sorry, not sector, Striker.
Goes for cop bop, and Wraith fortunate with the correct call out. Could have been in a big world of hurt for that.
I thought throw was coming. I was so sure throw was coming. Here comes Goro to keep it safe. And Striker, again, I am just at wit's end here. Striker.
Ooh, the distance on the Shadow Keg.
Mike Metroid has the opportunity to seal the deal, but Wraith's not too far behind. Both players have
that super no Goro to cover. Is he gonna let it rock?
Yeah, he's gonna break it.
I mean, he has no choice. This is his tournament life on the line. There's still an opportunity to bring it back. Oh, that's punish again. That's guaranteeing he doesn't get it. He doesn't have a bar to guarantee it off of armor.
This is so down to the wire. This is so down the wire, but it's not over. I mean, I don't think he was expecting Mike to do something unsafe. And in his mind, he just kept saying, I'm going to throw, I'm going to throw, I'm going to throw.
Yeah.
And that's what it is. This is so close, man, but it's not over yet.
The anti are so important, and good on Mike to break, right? You'll get more opportunities to bring that meter back. No up block on the 2-1-2, but again, understandable. You don't want to take the risk every time. Here's a big, that could have been a big convert. He wasn't ready for the hit confirm. And now a life lead here, and he's going to need it. How quick are we going to go home, ladies and gentlemen? Is Mike Metroid about to secure this round and take the entire tournament, with Wraith going to force him to try to do it all over again?
Oh, the spikes as Mike Metroid tried to challenge after that poke. Striker grenades keeping it nice and safe. Goro keeping it nice and safe on Shang.
And of course, Johnny has one of the easier punishes to better spikes, right? He's so far advancing. Beautiful timing.
He thought he was going to up block. He was baiting up block there 100%.
Ooh,
oh my God, they're not
whiffing.
too close enough. You're whiffing throw. I'm whiffing back 3. Oh boy.
Again, it's a protect. The overhead, he's not included in a while. He does not commit, so he gets out of it. He has a bar. He just needs Goro off of cooldown. Mike misses. He's going to get access to him again. Wraith MK resets the bracket. Grand final side, pulling Mike Metroid down on loser sides with him with his first loss throughout this entire weekend.
First loss down to the lower bracket with the rest of us here. No tournament lives remaining. This is the final set here. First to 3 from this point. Mike Metroid, prior to the set, had both his tournament lives intact in this double elimination tournament. That's how it goes. And we are finally here in this final conclusion, second set of the grand finals.
Listen, I hope you, ladies and gentlemen at home, have been enjoying the show in a grand case of deja vu, because now we get to do it all over again. And worse so now for both of them, because now they have to not only run it back, but run it back with all this new knowledge about each other that they did not have originally. The further this set has gone on, the more that's favored Wraith. Is that going to continue on grand finals loser side?
Uh-oh. Oh, Goro getting kneed right in the face. So that's going to add to that cooldown on that cameo. Cop Bop, watch out. Here comes the wake up. Even hits Striker on the way out.
Oh, and try to pressure, right? Wraith is a big fan of getting somebody on knockdown full screen and kind of checking them with one part ground skull to limit their movement for a bit, buy some time to figure out what his strategy is. When Mike Metroid is not there, he's gotten almost a clear punish on it every time.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a strategy he's going to have to stop going for. Mike has caught onto it.
Yeah, the beautiful throw punish there from Mike Metroid.
Round 2, fight.
Oh, the whiff throw. He's been re-including it, and then Wraith immediately makes a mistake after. Tries to go for armor protected, but Goro does it incorrectly, and now he's eating this whole combo for it. Striker going to add extensions off of Nut Punch.
That is so much damage, almost 52% or more than 52%, considering the 950 health on Shang, thanks to Goro. Toward escape, perfectly teched. Oh, he let go for 1 second. He let go for just 1 split little second.
The Duck OS, and that's a big risk to take, right? Shang has such a good mid-checking forward 4. You've really got to be confident that you're dealing with a high to chance it. All right, just a couple of pokes.
And those
little memeable with the pacing.
Those pokes can be punished by down 1, so every time he's taking that risk there to really give up super duper plus frames.
Ooh. He's gonna take the fatal before he gets breaker. Oh, I can hear the mashing from here.
They're mashing so loud. They're mashing so loud. You can see the fingers moving around on Wraith.
And this is about going to even it out off a fatal blow. Mike cannot afford to make one mistake.
Oh, the Striker was there to put him in the handcuffs, but it wasn't fast enough. The Skull's was the right move here coming out of Wraith.
And you see Mike has, he's definitely was focusing towards the end of that round. It almost looked like he kind of like accepted the loss on it, unless he was full confident that Striker was going to protect him, because he just started prioritizing height meter as soon as it was over. And this is the thing, Mike is going to want to cash on in it, right? But like Wraith still has access to breaker. You don't want to spend the whole resource just to get broken out of the combo, but I think he's decided it's time.
Armoring out is a way smarter move in this situation than blocking or trying to punish things that you can't punish.
Yeah, especially where you have to now make a new read every single time on something that's unsafe if it's going to get followed up, because you will get clicked for it. The Cop Bop helping out. Yeah, this is just going to be easy conferred.
The lefts, the rights, the lefts, the rights. Easy peasy.
I mean, talk about the trip back to MK11. Those combos have looked pretty similar for Johnny in every game, huh? You know, get that launcher, jab, jab, jab. It's either stand 1 or stand 2, but as long as you've got that little bit of rhythm.
Round 1, fight.
All right, Wraith as focused as he is frustrated, right? You were seeing the emotion on his face there.
This is so intense here, really. The rolling away,
Oh,
big
that's so
jumping kick.
unfortunate. Answers back immediately, though. It's been so worth the resources to get himself out of those situations.
Yeah, Wraith knows how aggressive Mike Metroid can be, and I guess just in general, Johnny Cage's, once they get in there, they don't want to get back out.
Yeah. And the armor move is so good at not only checking him, again, right, the fact that Goro will protect it, so you're not really taking risks, you don't like the situation. If you don't get out of it, you can at least halt it for a moment. Okay, and he's getting so good at starting to detecting where those gaps are between Mike Metroid. It's going to be hard for me to necessarily know what pattern he's recognized. That's a tell. Gonna eat a throw here. Oh, I was going to say, he was standing around for a grand amount of time. I don't know if he was concerned about Striker, and that's why he hesitated, but he kind of just let it rock.
Oh.
It saved him. No confirm off the nut punch. I don't know if he's taking the hit to avoid comp bob. He ducks under. And with the projectiles, the meter does not even matter. You cannot break on projectiles. Keep that route going. Keep that route going.
How did he know he was going to throw? I feel like throw is one of the last things I was expecting when you have height meter activated. Poking back for his turn, getting that back throw, knowing Mike Metroid's going to be holding on. But speaking of holding on to up forward is Mike Metroid, finding that hit and converting easily into some more damage thanks to that Striker. And I want to say, opted not to go for that breaker, but I think it's just because he wants armor moves so bad. He rolled away from the Striker grenade just far enough not to get interrupted. I mean, I love the way that these throw animations are all so unique and that they all play such a significant part in this game. It is so hype. I love it.
Though we haven't seen it that often, too, remember that Sheng does have the ability to also morph during his back throw. So you could go from one form to the other if it'd be advantageous for you. Get them in the corner, switch to old Sheng, pressure them with forward 4. Jump away.
Jump
away. Or jump past. That's fine.
I would just jump. I don't know which direction, but I'm just jumping.
Oh! The second you forget about it, I'm so just
the hype.
Mike Metroid with a very brave read too, because he needed to be correct on that.
Had to be correct.
I will say I do tend to like the jump away method more for the fatal blow, because their best answer is going to be the kind of wave dash towards you. They can end up dashing right into your jump back normal.
That's true.
Nice from Wraith. That is a starter from Sheng you don't see often because it's incredibly punishable. But it's great for them when they can land it.
Interrupting and hating Striker out of the game completely here.
Goro again, Mike was trying to answer back.
I almost couldn't see Shang jumping because of Goro hopping away and like being in that vicinity. And keeping it safe.
Yeah, at this point, his chip out sequence, Mike did not flawless blocks or better spikes. It's not even, normally you'd be concerned about the punish, but it was guaranteed chip out for Wraith.
We got the alphabet coming in here with the coaching for Mike Metroid.
Yeah,
is he going to give him some piece of advice?
More grenades, more glasses, more hype.
Get more hype.
I think it's
full
also
screen and just do the DX.
If Alphabet has to, right, because Wraith has definitely found some kind of like pattern recognition that helps him know when Mike is kind of telegraphing a gap that he could armor out of. If Alphabet has been watching and caught on to a tell as to when Wraith is going to do it, it could be as easy as when he does this, wait, this is when he's going to do it.
Could be. Tells are very important. And,
we did see the Motaro switch. We were curious before he was hovering over this.
Oh, keeping it classic MK2 style here. The big kicks, the big spinning kicks to anti-air. And of course,
pickup.
Oh, man.
Oh, but drops it again. That was going to be the same unbreakable damage situation.
That was crazy. That was an extended hitbox on that last little spike.
Nice call out again.
I like how angry Motaro is when he leaves the screen.
Oh, no, yeah, he's definitely upset that you think you're going to fight his friend. Okay, here we go. I think he's going to get it this time. I will say that, Wraith has hit this a couple of times. He's dropped it a couple of times. I know he's a little nervous, a little down, because the most I've ever seen him drop this conversion in my life.
Yeah. I mean, not only nervous, but also I think physically fatigued.
Yeah. Mike did get to, it's one of the cons of being on loser side. Mike did get a big break. Wraith has had to keep continually playing. A reset there, essentially.
Okay, Mike Metroid. We're getting damage. We're getting hype.
Oh, he dropped. Yeah, I think he could have got extension off of that.
I'm not sure if he was going for extension or maybe a possible reset.
He has. I mean, he kind of did a pseudo one before, right? It's one of the reasons that Wraith's health is so low now. Thankfully, he was victorious in the last round. He's afforded to lose this one if he can. It's going to be a tough comeback to make. That dial-in sent you so far.
Can we talk about how swaggy it was? The fact that he just dashed through his back, through his shoulder blades, and just kind of
chucked him right back into the corner that he just tried to get out of.
I mean, it was just so stylish and so cool. Motaro coming in with that breaker. No bars left for Mike Metroid, but he can get that height meter activated, might not need it at all. And I don't know, man. Wraith giving him a whole lot of bar through the avenue of damage, keeping him at bay. The up skulls, the straight skulls. Motaro coming in with the shield to deflect it back and make Wraith second guess a decision of whether he wants to throw those straight projectiles or not. Big normals coming out of Johnny Cage.
Yeah, Wraith's going to try to hold on to this life lead as much as he can. I don't think he thinks that the meter is worth the life deficit that he might end up in if he lets him get his game plan going.
Activating
now
the
killing some time. He's going to have the ability to call out Goro again.
Can make this happen with height meter if he doesn't know what's coming.
Perfect timing. And I'll be honest, I think Mike had just given him enough meter to do that. I wasn't staring at it, but he might have just given him enough.
It was, I mean, that's the thing. You build a little bit of meter when you're blocking things, but you also build a ton of meter when you get hit by things. And that was kind of I don't want to say a desperate move, more of like a Hail Mary move to spend your whole cameo bar to get the triple shot from Motaro and to kind of give Mike Metroid that breathing room to get that hype meter full because he knew he was going to be able to build up regular meter, so he said, let me try to get hype. Did he pick Motaro?
I'd have to check again.
I wasn't
we got a little wrapped up.
I was being so animated with my hands and my eyes.
Well, it's one of the reasons we all love this. He did go back to striker, so again, he's taking it home, right? And it's a tough decision to make because since Wraith is at advantage, you have to fully believe in whatever your next choice is. So I think he's just going to go with the one he's more comfortable with. This is combo extension off of striker grenades with corner carry.
2 bars, super expensive here. That nut punch, but whips the Sadler ender here. That's going to be a punish from Wraith and more momentum in his favor.
All right, Shang Tsung, all that work. Weak to a flashlight. Nice patience. It manages to move past the striker grenade, so now we know that we have a route that pushes us forward enough to not have to worry about it if Mike is not on point with his timing.
Oh boy.
I begged the question at the beginning of the set if after reset, the farther it goes along, the better it would be for Wraith with more time to adjust to Mike Metroid. It's been playing out that way so far, but this is still very treacherous for everybody involved.
These guys have been to almost 2
wrong
Game 5 sets.
Wraith is sitting on match point. Mike came in with so much momentum in the beginning of the set. Remember, if I'm not mistaken, on winner's side, he was up 2-0. Wraith had to make a reverse 3-0, and then is now the advantageous one here if you are to check the scoreboard.
It's a close set, man. That's all I know. This is a super close set. Both players adapting back and forth, going for throws, not going for throws, playing patiently, and sometimes just playing out of their mind.
Got to be mindful. That is an interruptible string that Mike is abusing there. He's safe, but you can jab in between it, which also means there's an armor gap, and we know for Wraith how much of a big opening that is. Yeah.
A block there, perfect punish coming out of Wraith as Mike Metroid. And sometimes that's the only thing you can do to Johnny Cage's jump kick. It is one of the best in the game, if not the best jump kick in the game.
Okay, now if he can, now this is the thing, if he can catch Mike with that ground skull, he can put enough damage on the board to kill here. But it's going to be hard with him right in your face.
Oh, he was so confident and just not letting go of block.
Oh, and
that's a throw. That's a throw. When you're slamming onto that block button so hard, you're leaving yourself susceptible to that.
Or try to charge up some height meter to have a better exchange, and Wraith MK with the armor call out again. It's going to take the entirety of NEC. You mentioned, right, his story. How quick, I already see all of the buddies going up to congratulate him.
I like how they carefully walk around the stage to not fall off the stage.
Well, you know, you got to be cautious. That'd be unfortunate on camera. You know, lost so early on winners' sides. Had to make that entire losers run all the way up to take it in winners' finals. I mean, you saw the stress on his face. This is a man that, outside of competition, when you see the results, you can see his emotions. Right, wears his heart on his sleeve. It's meant so much to him. You mentioned how he almost didn't come here.
He almost didn't.
He almost didn't come to this.
Like he wasn't a last-second registration, but right before pre-registration was over, he said, "Bet I'm coming and I'm winning this."
Yeah.
And you know, you got to think about a lesser player being in the situation that Wraith was in, being knocked into the lower bracket so early on in the tournament.
How discouraging that can be.
Yeah, a lesser player would have been said like, "Man, I'm not so confident. I'm not so good. I don't think I can do this." But he kept that mentality super strong. He was playing a lot of games. I know he was practicing some things with you as well prior to coming into this top 8, and he specifically said, I'm not going to warm up with anyone in this top 8 because he knows he has to make the lower bracket run, which means he's going to be going through he went through so many players in this top 8. On top of, at the very end, Mike Metroid, who was literally playing on fire.
Had not lost the set up until that point.
On fire, and he beat him 2 sets in a row. Like, how can you do that?
I mean, listen, with a lot of dedication and a lot of practice. I talked about how we were doing it as kind of like a meme factor before with Wraith, but there was a little bit of truth to that, right?
Sure.
You get frustrated. How do you get through it? In my head, I'm the best player here. Nobody can beat me.
Confidence.
At least for tonight, he was correct. At least for tonight. On some other nights, you know, it could get, but for his story today, and I think this is a memory he's going to have to last a lifetime, right?
It is.
He made the trip that he almost didn't want to come on. And now,
sometimes it happens.
Yep. and until he turns to dust, he will have this memory forever. And I'm happy for him that he got that. I was very impressed with the run of everybody that was in the top 8. I think the totality of skill sets and competition we got to see from the beginning of this broadcast, coming up to the rear end of it now. Impressive the whole way through. A lot of 3-0 sweeps, right? It obviously gets more competitive as you get towards the end and you watch how specific matchups play out. But everyone did an impeccable job.
They did. I mean, I want to extend that and just say this entire weekend, everybody came out. It was really fun to see all the different character diversities, all the different play styles, and really just having an opportunity to shine. So if you guys did miss any of this tournament, it was streamed. All the pools, all the way up to top 8, was streamed on Kombat Network. You guys can check out the full tournament run there. A lot of great matches, especially in the top 16.
Yeah.
And it's just really awesome to see people out here doing what they love, not for any kind of monetization, not for any kind of clout, like just to enjoy playing fighting games, enjoy being in this environment amongst friends, you know, just loving the moment and living life. I mean, life's too short to really focus on so many negative aspects. Like, why do we do this? We do this because we love fighting games. We love competing, and this weekend was a testament to that.
Yeah, I think any of you guys that have ever